We'll call this meeting for March 21st to order. Start with roll call.
Josh Jones,
Here.
Tim Van Hookie,
Here.
Edwin Wolhoff, absent. Katie Harrington, here. Matthew Wells.
Here. We'll start with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord God, we just thank you this evening. We want to take a moment and humble ourselves before you because you are mighty, you are wonderful, you are amazing. Your fingerprints are on everything that surrounds us each and every day, and we see you everywhere that we go. And we ask, Lord God, that you would be present in everything that we do. Lord God, this evening, we ask that you would guide our discussions, cover us with your blessing, allow us to be the instruments of your mercy, allow us to be good stewards of what you have placed in our hands. Allow us to be the people that repair breaches, that restore walls, that create the foundations for a new generation. You, Lord God, have shown us so many ways that we can be the people that you desire for us to be. And I ask, Lord God, this evening that we seek those opportunities throughout this meeting, throughout the rest of this week, to put to action the words that you have spoken into our hearts, to put to action the example that was set forth by your Son, Jesus. We ask, Lord God, that we be the people that you have called us to be. We thank you for your Son, for his death upon the cross and the salvation that it brings to each and every one of us. And this evening, Lord God, it is in his name that we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we have a new agenda before us. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? Are there any additional changes that we need to make?
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. On our consent agenda this evening, if anyone has any questions about it? If not, we'll entertain a motion to
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Lisa, is there anyone that signed up for public comments this evening? We'll move on to old business. We'll start with item A, the sludge removal update from AMS.
Hello. My name's Scott Flater.
Is your mic on, Scott?
I don't know.
Yep, it's on. Yep.
My name's Scott Flater. I'm the Director of Water Utilities. And I want to give you an update on how things are progressing at the wastewater treatment plant. We began the addition of microbes for sludge removal. I believe the date was I think it was November 4th or 5th. And initially, before that, there was a sludge judging that was done where they measured the depth of the sludge. There was one done September 19th, and down there are 3 sails, or lagoons. The first lagoon in September had an average depth of 77.83 inches. Cell number 2 at that date had an average of 25 inches, and cell number 3 had an average of 24 inches. Okay. So then another sludge judge was done December 20th, which was probably 5 or 6 weeks after the addition of microbes. At that time, the first cell, which was the thickest one, had gone from 77 inches to 33.54 inches. Cell number 2 went from 25 down to 12.3 inches, and cell number 3 went from 24.44 to 14.06 inches. And then there was another one done on January the 6th of this year. At that time, cell 1 was 23.21 inches. Cell 2 was 12.7 inches. And cell number 3 was 10.06. And then it's been a couple of months. They've been continually working down there and adding the microbes continually every day and stirring and mixing it. And another sludge judge was done on, Wednesday of last week on the 15th of March. And in cell 1, it was down to 20 inches. Cell number 2 was down to 9 inches, and cell number 3 was at 4 inches. So that's where we stand. As Wednesday. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm going to introduce a couple of guys from AMS.
I guess I have a question based on some information that I'd requested, and it went out to Brad. It looks like the concentration level, those of what we're receiving through our contract, especially the last couple of months, are pretty high. Both for, I guess my concern, Scott, is these numbers are elevated for January and February. We're working with AMS, and it sounds like they're doing a good job. We're putting new aerators in. We put the curtain in and all these other items. It's like we're fixing up an old car, to make it great again. Mm-hmm. But it looks like we're handing the keys to somebody you don't want driving it, as far as what we're still pouring into that thing based on the levels that are reported here. Both for BOD and TSS and COD. Those numbers seem to have elevated quite a bit since the end of last year. So my concern is that, when this was first identified, and by no means am I saying that it was the contract that caused these problems, because it had been 20 years since anything had been done. But how is these elevated numbers affecting the work that AMS is doing inside the facility if the contract end user that we're getting this from isn't doing anything on their end to reduce the volume or the potency of what we're receiving?
Well, I think it's, seriously impedes that process.
Well, it could actually start to reverse the process of what we had done as well, couldn't it?
Well, yes, and we see that in a couple of instances. I mean, when we look at, actually, if we look at, cell number 2 in December, it was 12.3 inches, and then in January, it had actually gone up 0.4 of an inch. So, it's like, It's increasing.
and the company that Tim's talking about dumps in all 3 cells?
Well, no, they dump in one spot in cell number 1, and then just through the natural circulation, the effluent from cell number 1 goes into cell number 2, and then on around into cell number 3.
And these are just averages, right?
Yeah.
So the difference
There's-
between December and January could have been, is it the same spots, or, I mean, could it just been,
They're measuring in the same spots each time, and there's varying levels in each spot, but then they just take the average of all the spots. I mean, a lot of the spots are like 7 inches, 5 inches, 8 inches, but then there's other spots, especially where it's dumped in there.
so each time
They're
doing it,
high.
the numbers can't be skewed, it's the exact same spots, so you wouldn't, even if everything was the same, it wouldn't be varied based off each time doing it, is that correct to say? Like, if no one was dumping in there, it's not gonna determine,
Right.
okay,
So, correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, but for biochemical oxygen demand, the BOD, for something that's being treated, the reading should be what, 300 on average?
300 on what, sir?
On
the
the
lagoon,
test,
or-
the test results that you're getting back on the BOD, 300.
From the grab samples that we take?
Yeah.
BOD, really anything less than 1,500 would be really good, but 300 would be excellent.
Yeah, I mean, as high as 1,500, you're right, but I mean,
300 would be great.
yeah.
1,500 would be the top. I mean,
Top
that's where
limit.
you don't really want to go over 1,500. 300 would be awesome. But probably wouldn't see that.
what are they at now, Tim?
Well, let me get back down here. 386, 282, 490, 530, 695.
So we're not nowhere close to that 1,500.
We're not close to the 1,500, but I mean, just based on,
Based on those BOD numbers, we're looking extremely well.
well,
If Scott says 300 is really, really good, and we're staying right around.
I'm not going to argue with him on the 300, and I've seen as high as 1,500 for acceptable. I mean, for treated.
Yes,
it-
if it were treated,
If
yeah,
it were treated, you should be closer to 300.
right.
Yeah.
I just know that, like, well, the last time I got an official report was in January, and I know since then that they have done sludge judging, to my knowledge, at least 4 times over January, February, and March. And again, I was down there Wednesday, and they were sludge judging again, and I know, well, from what they tell me, and when I say they, I'm talking about Doug McKinney and Jimmy Pleasant are here from AMS, and so I'll have them come up here in a minute. But we had gone in from 77 inches down to 33 inches. And I know it looks like, from September to December, but no, we didn't actually start treating that until, the 1st of November. Okay. So essentially in, a month and a half, we had more than halved the amount of sludge that was in there. Mm-hmm. And, according to Doug and Jimmy, the second half usually goes twice as fast as the first half. Well, I was out there last week, and they're sludge judging again, and in the last, 2 months, we'd gone from 23 inches to 20 inches. So, that's not what they're used to.
Yeah.
Right.
And then your total suspended solids, would you agree that 350 is kind of the standard
Yes.
for that? And we're averaging on that, I mean, 386, 490, 530, 364, 695, so that's a little bit high.
Yeah. Right. You know, if we look back into maybe January, February, March of last year, we were doing pretty good with the TSS. But, you know, we can see,
I was just looking for January and February of this year,
of this year.
of where it's elevated
Yeah,
these last 2 months.
okay.
Because I guess, like I said, you guys are doing a great job with this, and I think AMS is doing a really good job for us as well. But the last thing I want to see is, okay, we're getting it fixed. I mean, have we heard anything back from the customer that we're contracted with of what fixes or solutions they've done on their end? You know, because we're getting a lot more.
Actually, the levels are down on everything since we originally sent them the letter back in October. You'll see everything is more than cut in half all the way straight across the board. In fact, some of the numbers that we're receiving now are on par with the numbers that we had
Are those
last year.
readings that you're looking at in the packet as far as actual BOD and TSS, or are those number of loads?
No, it's got the loads right here, but then here we're talking BODs, right here we're CODs, and then we've got total spended solids, pH on the arrival of the load. We've got ADM, total nitrogen, and everything. And you can see from October, everywhere across the board, we're dropped down.
January, February of this year.
We're still on par with what we were. I mean,
August.
Yeah,
in
we
January, we've
send
got
them, we'd send them a
86
letter
on the
in
total
October.
supply,
Well,
and that's only
I'm
it's
bringing
only
this
20
up
degrees out.
just simply because for several meetings, I know myself and Commissioner Harrington repeatedly asked about how often are we testing, what are the test results looking like, so on and so forth. I'm not saying this looks horrible or bad by any means, but I mean, I think that nobody wants that smell back in town again. And when I see number of loads and stuff like that, and I see some of these numbers on TSS and other items, I'm gonna at least ask the question since we have
Oh no, I don't. No,
people in here, you know,
not at
to
all.
address it.
That makes a good point.
Well,
But-
I don't really see that because, I mean, if we look at the BOD in December, January, February, I mean, the limit is 1,500 milligrams per liter.
Mhm.
And
Well below.
the average, you know, was almost 9,000.
Yeah, I don't, Mayor, I'm not sure what you're,
He was talking about the TSS.
okay.
It was 1,000 in August, September, October, November, December, it dropped to 400.
Because your loads in everything, after we sent the letter in October, November and December were starting to look better.
Yep.
And then January and February, it just went totally backwards. We thought January was a fluke deal, so we didn't say anything. But February, we're right back at where we're again
Total suspended solids.
on everything. Your loads and your BODs and
The oxygen demand.
And that's what had caught my attention.
What are you guys doing in-house to kind of offset this, or what plans do you have going forward that we be able to maintain these higher levels?
Well, in a lagoon, at least our lagoons right now, I mean, other than, you know, the contractor company that we have that's, you know, applying microbes and agitating it, and, you know, other than that, a lagoon is not.
Have you been able to go over and look at their system and actually see them do that process?
yes, I
You
have.
want,
Okay.
Yes, I went.
I'm
over there.
asking to have you guys physically went over there
Yes,
and looked.
I went
Okay.
over there.
Yeah,
I've been over there twice,
yeah, I'm every-
and their system is nothing compared to ours. I mean, it's
Have we reached
It's
out?
night and
because
day.
This company's in hundreds of towns all across the world. Have we reached out to other towns to see what they do to combat this, or have we seeked any advice on people that deal with this all the time?
that we haven't done, no.
I mean, this company's all across the world, and so they do that. They have, I mean, they send this stuff everywhere, and so is this a problem at every location they have? And so, what are we doing, or what are we not doing different that other towns are doing to be able to handle?
Well, sir, I don't think it's a matter of what we're not doing, it's a matter of what they're not doing.
Okay. Yeah. That's
There
what,
are items that we can do to mitigate this on our end. I had the engineer bring to this commission back in October the buying of a couple of, or at least back then it was one tank, so that we could have them, instead of dumping it straight into the lagoon, put it in the tank, we'll agitate it, treat it, and then we could slowly release it into the lagoon in a controlled manner, instead of having them dump it all in one place. That is one thing that I know other towns do that we don't do. Not that they're getting the same levels that we're getting, but that's just something that they do.
But is that not something that they could do before they brought it over here to us?
well, they could, that's what I'm asking, has anyone reached out to ADM and say, what do you do in other towns?
Yes, we had a, well,
What do they do different here that they don't do in other towns that they're in?
the other towns, like wherever their, company is, where they take their,
Product.
sludge water, no, I haven't talked to them. We had a meeting with them Thursday.
I mean, does ADM say this is what we do at every plant we have, or are they saying, hey, our levels are higher than at every other plant we have across the country? Or is this status quo for them, and do we know that? No.
No, we don't know that.
Well, does the KDHE, do they use the 40 CFR Part 503 to set the levels and the testing and stuff like that, or is there a different state regulation? Because I want to make sure as this goes along too, that we don't have any issues, or we're not looking towards any issues with KDHE.
I can tell you that there are issues. The situation is, we have a very good wastewater plant down there, and over the years, I mean, it's an example. I mean, it's an award-winning plant. It's won state awards, for its abilities, and we're very fortunate in the fact that we have an activated sludge plant, okay? So the municipal waste, the domestic product that comes from all the houses, businesses, everything in the city of Fort Scott comes down there, goes through Davis Lift Station, and goes through the activated sludge plant. It has an oxic ditch, and it's treated, digested, clarified, disinfected with UV, and put into a receiving stream, okay? We also still have the 3 lagoon system, and the lagoon systems predate the activated sludge plant, but the only time that they're used, with the exception of this, waste product, is during a rainfall event, when there's a lot of I&I, you have a lot of infiltration, inflow and infiltration. And after a certain limit, the activated sludge plant can't take any more. And so it overflows into the lagoons. Well, when it does that, the lagoons, like I said before, they go from one to the other until they discharge. And when we do that, we have a combined discharge. And 7 out of the last 12 months, we've had exceedances in our permit limit. And the reason for that is, the condition of the lagoons are in.
And again, Scott, by no means, I think you're doing a great job, and your guys are doing a great job. I just want to ask these questions and know
Sure,
this topic's out here. I know that we ask regularly kind of what are the levels sitting at right now? Is it getting better? Like I said, for a while there, I thought the motto for our town was going to be Fort Scott, come for the people, stay for the smell. But,
Well,
it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all, and we don't want to go back to that. So
Right.
when I see things going up in the last couple of months, and I don't think we ever really heard back what the end user has done on their end, because there was talk early on before you were in the position you were in that, hey, they had plans or processes they were going to do on their end to help reduce this. And I don't think any of us, unless I'm the only one that hasn't, has ever seen anything that they've said they're doing or what the corrective action was.
Brad, I know that
And-
you had a meeting with them
Right.
What did they say to you their corrective actions would be?
They said they were treating the water over there. They were trying to recycle some of the chemicals that are in their waste to reuse it. Glycerin would be one of them. And they're basically just trying to recycle their water for them. And we had a meeting with them on Thursday, and that was one of the things I asked, why are we going backwards when you told us you were going forwards? And no businessman can continue these numbers, and they know that. That's why they've got to start working on their end to help themselves and to help us.
Did they say they have an action plan that they're going to put forth, or did they provide you any details?
No, they didn't. All they told us this last time was that they had some hiccups. So
Scott, how often are we testing down there? Twice a month, twice a week? How often?
When you say testing, are you talking about testing the loads that come in?
Yeah.
Because there's testing that goes on, throughout the month for the regular plant. When the loads come over in the trucks, twice a month, grab samples are taken and collected and sent to Pace Analytical for analysis. They give us the constituents that you see here as far as the BOD, COD, TSS, total nitrate, total phosphorus, stuff like that. And then that is how we take those and put them, that's how, we go with the billing. Additionally, though, with everything that's happened, we've had new directives from the state, and we are additionally testing the cell 1 and cell 2 effluents twice a month. So we've doubled our testing.
So what would your suggestion be? What would you have us do, in your opinion?
And as far as what, sir?
As if this is a problem, is that what you're telling us? Then
Yes.
Then what would your recommendation be?
Well, Brad and I, we had a meeting with them last week, and we talked to them. At that point, there was no, like you said, plan of action. This is what we're going to do,
Okay.
and this is how we're going to get it. When you look at the graphs that I made that showed the limits for everything, there was nothing to say, this is how we're going to get there. So, in its present state, my feeling is that, and again, I'm just saying, as it is now,
Yeah.
that
Won't hold you to any of this. Just,
it's not a sustainable relationship. Now, I know that we want to stay in that relationship, but things have to change, and I mean now. Okay? We sent them a letter in October and said, hey, you know what? Get your numbers down. Nothing was done about it. Of course, I know there was a big turnover 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever it was. But there was no follow-up on it, And
by us or them?
yes,
Okay.
Did you get a response to the letter?
I did not, sir.
No, we didn't.
But I'm just saying, as it is right now, we can't sustain this. Okay? Yeah, if I may say, in my position, I owe it to the city of Fort Scott, to the citizens of Fort Scott, and to the plants that I, administer, not to allow this to keep happening. I mean, we just can't. Josh brought up a really good point. Do they have this problem in every plant? I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe I can find out, from all the different places that they manufacture and the place that they haul sludge, and I don't know if they haul sludge in other places. I mean, they have lagoons there, but that's all it is. They have a discharge permit, but they've never discharged out of it because they know what they have can't do that. You know, so,
Mr. Pleasant or Mr. McKinney have anything? they wanna
yes,
say?
I'd like to bring either one of them up.
Thank you, Scott. My name is Doug McKinney. I'm with Advanced Microbial Solutions, what we call AMS. I appreciate this opportunity to stand before you tonight. I hope I can answer a lot of these questions you guys have. I'd also like to give you a point of view from our perspective because we are the boots on the ground, if you will. We're out there in the boats. We're out there in the sludge. We're right in the middle of it. No pun intended. We're knee deep. You know, and we're right in what we're seeing. We do have some concerns. You know, whenever we first had these conversations back in late summer, early fall with the city of Fort Scott, and more so the officials that we were talking to at the time, a lot of our information was very verbal. I mean, it was look at me in the eye, I'll look you in the eye, this is how it is. This is what we were told. You know, coming to Fort Scott for the people and stay for the smell, I can vouch for that. I mean, there's a lot of good people in this community. I live 3 hours south of here in the state of Oklahoma. I've never met a Fort Scott person. I walk into a cafe, my hat's off to all you guys. Okay, because I literally enjoy myself in this town. A lot of good people. But you're right. Whoever made that comment, I couldn't say, but you're absolutely right. There's a smell. I'm a country boy. I'm a farm boy. That smelled like a pig farm. That's exactly what it was. It was a pig feed. And when that wind is blowing, it doesn't matter if you're on the north side or the south side. It doesn't matter where you're standing. You can smell it, and you don't have to be in Fort Scott to smell it. FYI, it travels. But we were also told that sludge, that industrial sludge coming into your plant, our verbal understanding was there was about 45 to 90,000 gallons of additional sludge. We do this every day. We do this with cities all over the United States. We fight city municipal wastewater systems all the time. Sludge does not scare us. We know exactly what we can do. We know how long it's going to take roughly. There's no two waters exactly alike. There's no two sludge pits just alike. There's no two individuals in this room here tonight that are exactly alike. We're all individualized. But one thing that's very common in the sludge business is that the bacteria that we utilize to consume sludge is always consume sludge. And we learn a lot about that bug. We learn a lot about the bacteria. The concerns you have here tonight, guys, is real. It's a real concern. That smell was rough. Guess what? As you're right where we're going right now, it's coming back. It's going to come back. And that's the reality of it. That's what we're faced with. The numbers that Mr. Scott just gave you, I'll give you a little bit from our experience. You guys have got 18 acres roughly of lagoon space, surface acres of lagoons. Okay, so we removed 51 inches of that sludge. And we did it in a pretty timely manner. That January the 16th, I would have bet my wood and nickel. I don't think I would have. But I've been real close to betting the hat on my head that we would have been done by the 1st of February. And you know why? Because every lagoon system we address, when we get to that point we were on January 16th here in Fort Scott, we would have been complete by the 1st of February. 18 acres, we would have had that thing racked up because as we increase that CFU count, we increase the microbes in your lagoon system, they continue to reproduce, they continue to grow, they continue to get hungry. That sludge would have been consumed at even a faster rate in the second half of the time we're there than the first half. That's how it works. It's an army in numbers. Cell number 2, that's your largest cell out there. And you had a lot of sludge in there. It was easy. Cell number 3 was even easier. You know why? Is that industrial sludge, as someone mentioned, goes from cell 1, cell 2 to cell 3. Whenever we rig your system up, just so you know, when we rigged up your system, and for us to nibble to inject our microbes in cell number 2, you have a culvert that goes from 1 to 2. And I don't know, Scott, it's probably 18 inches, I want to guess. It's probably 18, 24 inches in diameter. The thing was clogged up. My guys, my men, and myself, there's 3 of us, we spent 3+ hours one day, had to come back the next day with different tools, trying to get that thing unplugged. When we unplugged it, the water level changed in cell 1 and cell 2. The water level changed in both of them. And it was so drastic, we had to wait a little bit before we started rigging up in cell 2. So since then, that drain pipe has been open. So when sludge is dumped, someone asks, are they dumping it in each cell or just one? When they dump that industrial sludge in cell number 1, it'll travel. It'll short circuit, if you will, and it's going right into cell number 2. So cell number 2, the sludge has been regulated a little bit up and down. There's been a little bit of fluctuation as we are seeing in cell number 1. Did that curtain help? It helped the short circuiting. It slowed that down. Did it help your sludge? No. Not at all. Not at all. What it has done is you've got an opening there on the south end of your sludge where that curtain is, however many feet it is down at that point. It is opening that up and the sludge is starting to pack in there. That's where it's going. That is what's happening is that sludge is building up as it turns. Because your water flows like this, right? It goes south and comes back north to go into cell number 2. When it makes that curve, that sludge is packing into that concrete wall, that barrier. That's what's happening. That sludge is building up. February 16th, we had in cell number 2, or cell number 1, excuse me, we had 20 inches in there, 23 inches to be exact. Okay, March the 2nd, we go in there and you got 26 inches. It grew 3 inches. On January the 16th, I seen a problem. This is something we do every day. This is something we've got multiple jobs going on, not just here in Fort Scott. We're in different locations right now. This is something I see all the time. But I seen something on the 16th of January that made me raise my eyebrows a little bit. And we started monitoring it. I've got 2 guys on a boat out there stirring that lagoon. I shouldn't have to do that. There's a system very similar in size to yours right now in East Texas. Very similar in the type of sludge. We have yet to have a boat on it. We're probably 2 weeks done and they're going to be cleaned out. And we started them in January. We started you guys on November 4th. November 4th was the first day we dumped boats. Okay, at that point in January, 1st of February, we should be done. We should be complete, but we're not. But we seen something that was different. We seen something that was the sludge amount, it was the composition, the shape, the texture of that sludge changed. And we started seeing it. We put it expedited. We've got 2 boats on your water today. We had 2 boats on your water yesterday. We got 3 men out there on payroll every day stirring your lagoon trying to help a system that's going backwards. We got more units on your 18 acres than we would ever have. We've got 11 units on your system based on the 45 to 90,000 gallons of additional sludge by a third party is the number we were given. 45 to 90,000 gallons per week. That's what we were given. So we adjusted our units based on that number. And that number, the units we have in your system, we should be done and out of your hair at this moment in time, being March the 21st. We should be out of your way. It should be clean. But it's not. It's not. January 16th when we started seeing that turn. We started seeing a turning point. We started paying attention. Cell number 1, the sludge. Sludge, if you put it in a glass jar, I just like oil and water. Your sludge will sink to the bottom. And it won't take days to do it. It takes minutes. It'll actually drop. You can mix it up. It gets all gray. It'll come back down. In cell number 1, it's like a paste. It's almost like oatmeal. It will not separate. It will not. That sludge is different. And I know it's different. It's different how we sludge it. It's very pasty. It's very gritty. I'm sure there's not very many people in this room that's ever touched sludge. But sludge is not gritty. Sludge is more slimy. This is a grit. So I knew something was not right. But at 45 to 90,000 gallons a day or a week, and I started counting trucks. Now, being a young country boy from Oklahoma, when I can't do the math, I'll pull out a calculator. And one day, I counted the trucks that was there. And the day that I was here, and it's not like I was here at daylight, but I stayed after dark that particular day. And I've done this twice. I started counting the trucks. From the time I was here at 9:15 that morning to dark, there's over 10 trucks both of those days. At 3,500 gallons per truck, and that's being on the light end, that's 35,000 gallons a day. That was 70,000 gallons in that particular week. But what I started noticing was that sludge level was doing this, up and down, up and down. It was fluctuating. I go talk to Scott last week. He sludged it. Scott, something's not right. we have a concern, and we got it confirmed, that the amount of trucks that ADM was bringing into your system doubled basically from November, December compared to what January and February brought in. And I would be willing to guess, again, I don't want to bet my hat, but I'll bet my ink in. I'd be willing to bet that March is going to be very similar to January and February, more so than it is November and December. And that's just me guessing, because that's what I'm seeing. And where we're at right now is we're going backwards. From my experience, our experience with AMS, if we had these figures given to us ahead of time, we'd have more units out there doing something different. There is no way for us to keep up with what we're doing the way we're doing it right now. We have consumed, and I don't have no way of proving this to you. But I mean, I spent a lot of hours thinking about this. And this is a best guess estimate. I'm being very conservative when I say this. The amount of sludge that we agreed that we're going to remove from your system, we initially measured all of that sludge, add 50% to that. Being very conservative, we have removed probably 150% of what we told you we would do. I'm a man of my word. I said we're going to do something, we're going to do it, and we did it plus 50%. That's where we're at, and we're still fighting it out there. But guys, this has got to stop. This has got to end. I feel like we have done above and beyond what we have done for you guys, but the question is, what's the next move? I know you looked at Scott, we're scratching our head, right, Scott? Now, what do we do? Yes, ADM, and I will say ADM, I mean, that's the plant, that's the monkey in the room. ADM is bringing in twice as many loads as they once were. Guess what? You have an increase in capacity. Okay, you're talking about your COD, you're talking about your BOD, your DO, your pH, your solids, whatever you want to talk about. You pick any one you want to discuss. The problem with that is not the microbial count or the biological activity in that water. It's the industrial addition of what's being added to your water. You want to fight it? We can fight it. Because you give us the information up front and let us help you guys through this, we can do that. This is what we do, but we can't do it in our current state. We feel like what we have done so far is complete. What we need to do is shift gears a little bit and help you in a different way. Because if we don't, Jimmy Pleasant, president of AMS, is with me, and he asked me that 3 questions today. I think it was today, it might have been yesterday. Dates get mixed up. He asked me, because I'm the one living out here a lot, based on our current circumstances, how long do you think it would be before Fort Scott was in the condition they were in when we first started? And my answer was 90 days. If we pulled out, we quit treating, and we have put over almost 1.5 million gallons of active live microbes in your system, if we pulled out today and we quit treating, I think in 3 months, the same group will be sitting right here wondering how we're going to deal with this smell. What are we going to do with the full lagoon? And that's a guess. That's my best guess estimate based on the information I know and based on the information I have seen. I also know this. We can fight your COD. We can fight your BOD. We can fight that. What they're doing is they're concentrating the levels. The number I heard was 100,000. I don't know. I've heard 70,000. You're different numbers. If I'm hearing these numbers correctly, we can fight that. We can fight that with additional, and we got to fight fire with fire, right? We got to increase our oxygen level. As a trial and error, what I did on March the 2nd, I hope you guys have been out there and toured the facility, but what we did on March the 2nd, you've got 9 units treating cell 1 and 2. They're on the south side of your plant, your activated sludge plant. We got 9 units set up right there. I took all 9 units and I started injecting every one of them in cell number 1. I was trying to get that CF count so high that we couldn't do nothing but consume sludge. Because your sludge was going up and not down. We knocked it down to 10 inches. It went up briefly, but we knocked it back down 10. It was up to 26 inches. We're at 19.5. That's where we're at. So it knocked it down about 8-9 inches by doing it that way. But guess what was happening to cell number 2? That sludge there on the south end is the same type of sludge that's in cell 1. You get on the north end of cell number 2, which is long and narrow, it's the same type of sludge in cell number 3. Cell number 3 is about empty. It's about done. I mean, I would call it done, complete. There's nothing in it. And so you have two different types of sludge in there, but that sludge has got to be addressed differently. What I want to do, what I would like to propose to you guys, pay us for what we have done. Pay us what we agreed to do. You pay us, let us regroup, let me work with your team. Let me work with Scott. Let me work with Alec. Let me work with Randy. Let me work with Brad. Let's figure out a system that we can work with ADM. Let's get them to choke it back a little bit. Let's get that additional air in there so we can meet your numbers. Let us treat cell number 1 and fight it to where we can keep that under control. And guys, if you do it, because this is an income source. This source of income for the city of Fort Scott is important. You guys are making a lot of money on this. I ain't saying use it and be greedy, but I'm saying we need to find a happy medium somewhere. Let us help you find that. Let us do your testing. Let us help with the testing that we can help you guys and give you reports. Hey, this is what we're seeing. These are numbers. Scott still needs to do his regulatory test. I mean, that's required by the state of Kansas. Scott's got to do those tests, and that's not the test I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is the sludge that they are bringing into you. Let us do that raw test because they're supposed to be treating it on their site, correct? They're supposed to. We can help confirm that, and we're a third party for you guys. We are a third party for you guys that we can bring value to the table. Because our ownership, myself included, we've got several years of experience working in this. It's not like we're dabbing our finger into something we don't know anything about. We come from 3 industries working in our agriculture, oil and gas, and now city municipal facility. We come from 3 different industries working in microbial activity. We have experience. Let us help you. But we need to shift gears today. We've got to shift gears. Our guys are out there stirring your lagoon. Right now, we got 2 boats now. Guess what? That just cost us twice as much. It's costing us. Pay us on what we've done so far. Let us shift gears to address that industrial sludge and let us help you with ADM. And that's what I'm asking today. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. I think I can help address some of the concerns you have that you asked Scott. If you want to go down that road again, we'd be more than welcome to.
What would your approach be?
My approach, the first thing I would do, and I'm already one step ahead of it, I'd grab a sample coming out of that truck. I'd have that sample analyzed. You've got to know where you're at before you know where you need to be. Okay? I would need to know where that is. Secondly, which we've got confirmed, is how many loads are they putting in there. Third, we need to go back to the letter. The conversation I've had with Brad, the conversation I had with Scott, we need to go back to ADM. Sit across that table with Tom and let him know how serious this is. We go back to our original agreement. Let's cut this thing in half. Give us an opportunity to put those blowers in your lagoon system. Let's fight that industrial sludge until it gets to a point where, all right, Scott, Tom, we're at this point. If you need to increase it, we can. Because once we get that level down and get that industrial pace, guys, that pace got to have time. What that pace is that glycerin. That's my gut feeling. It's that glycerin that is bonding that together. That's the reason you're going to see your COD numbers go up. We go at time, we get that rolling because we do have a letter dated back in October whenever I heard you mention a fall letter. If we can get that original contract with that vendor back, and we leave those units or renegotiate those units on how many it's going to take to get cell number 1 under control, at that point, then it's on a maintenance program. That's what I would do. And then we need to monitor that sludge. And I'm not talking about your BOD, COD I'm talking about we need to know the raw ingredient of that sludge. We need to know. And that glycerin makes a big difference, guys. If it's a 0.25% concentrate or it's a 2%, there's a huge, huge difference. That's basically glycol. That's basically antifreeze. Okay? That's what you're dealing with. And we need to know what we're dealing with. We came in this thing blind. We came in this with eyeball and handshake. And, hey, this is what it is, man. It's just sludge. No, it's not. It's not just sludge, and we know this. Because if we don't fight this, you guys are going to be right back in the same shape you were 3 months ago. We've been on this for 140 plus days. We should be long gone. This thing should be empty, but yet you've got a different animal You've got a different variable. You've got a different characteristic that we're not used to seeing. Neither you guys, nor neither is a lot of towns. One of the questions was asked about ADM plants across the country. Guys, they're not all the same. They are not. They're not all fighting glycerin programs. They're not all fighting an orange lagoon over there. It's orange. They're not used to fighting that. It's different. You can call these other communities and what they're doing to fight. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. You get grandma's chocolate cookies and you go to the store and buy a chocolate cookie. They're not the same, but they're both a chocolate cookie, right?
So is there nothing in the sludge itself that you can test? You said it was different, it was gritty, it was like oatmeal. There's no way of getting a sample out of that?
Yes, sir. There is, and that's where I'm at today. I'm already done that because I know it's different.
Okay, because I'm looking, I mean, it looks, in cell one, you said we're at about 20 inches or a little below 20 inches.
Yes, sir.
And the hope was, looking at the signing of the contract here, was that we would get cell number 1 to 6 inches.
Yes.
So we're still 14 inches away from, I mean, I know that we've made great, we were at 77 inches to start with, and we're down to 20 or a little below, but the goal was to try and get to 6. I'd like to know what's, other than the volume, what's preventing us from getting to that 6 that you guys had hoped to have us to and be long gone by now.
What we like to do in our system, basically says AMS targets leaving 6 inches in the entire system. So if you take the sludging, one of you guys asked, do we sludge the same spot every time? The answer is yes, we do the best we can with wind. But if you put a sludge stick on this side of this podium and you put it right here, sometimes it's different. And in a body of water, are we in the same spot every time? We do it enough that we kind of get a really good feel for it. So we're real close. It may not be the exact, but it's real close. But if you look at the bodies of water and how many sludge points we take, and we work an average, we don't go out there and take 6. We're taking 30. We take enough to get a really good average. And at that 6 inch on that system, right now we're averaging about 8. We're about 2 inches off, and that was as of last Wednesday. If we go out there probably tomorrow, if we go out there into this week, we could probably already be down to that 6. Okay, and that's where I'm at. We're probably 2 inches away from that 6 inches already. But also, one thing that we're not accustomed to seeing is 220 loads coming in on this on top of it every month. I don't think anybody was prepared for that. What is that, 40,000 gallons a day, roughly? 39, 38, 40,000 gallons of sludge a day? That's a lot. What I understand, one of them, there's 2 different sizes of trucks out there, to my understanding, and I can see it. One's probably 5,300, one's roughly 3,500. I may be off a little bit, but yeah, they're roughly like, yes, sir.
Yeah, the number I was given back in October is we were taking about 35,000 gallons
A day?
So Brad, is there any way we can get a special session this week with, I know you've talked to them and they've talked to them, but maybe it's time for the commission to sit down with ADM and do what we need to do. And so if you can get, maybe reach out in this week.
He's on the road this week, but I'm sure we can get it just as soon as Monday or Tuesday of next week, if that works for.
Well, I think either way we need to do that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we definitely.
Like I said, and I'm not, don't misconstrue, the company we have this contract with. You're right, they're important to our city, but let's look at the relationship. It should be beneficial for both of us, and we've got to take care of our community.
Right. But he hit the nail on the head. We're making money off of this, so we need to figure out a way to make the money and take care of the lagoons at the same time. And there is a way to do that. We just have to figure out how to get it done.
I think you're saying you pretty confident you can figure out a way whenever you know everything, so.
Yep. The engineers also have some recommendations that they would like to make as far as this goes.
And that's great too, but what I would like to see is a representative of the folks of the city, is some type of actions that were taken on their end before this stuff comes to us, which is what we were told was going to happen when this concern first came up. It's not, I never heard, let's put more tanks over in Fort Scott so we can dump more of it over there.
That was my idea. I mentioned that back in October, so you did hear it.
Oh, I did,
You heard it from me.
not from them. Not from them, though. So I'd like to see, and they're Missouri, that's a show me state. I'd like to be shown that, you know, the things that are being done over there on their end before that material comes over here.
And that's fine. I just know, I agree with what he's saying. I agree with what the engineers say. There is a way for us to also handle this on our end, take care of them, take care of our people, and still be able to make a lot of money at the same time that we can put back into repairing our aging facilities, put back into fixing our sewers, put back into fixing our water lines. This is a benefit to the citizens of this city to be judicious in what we do moving forward.
Yeah, and that's fine. Just my opinion is
Well, I mean, I think all that's right. I think just the next step is we need to get,
yeah,
you guys are obviously talented and educated very well in this. ADM's done this for a long time. We just need to all get together and just, instead of back and forth letters, blah, 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 and say, this is what we need, this is what has to happen, can you do it or can you not, whether it's limit loads,
Yes.
you know,
And if I may, that's kind of where my,
yeah.
that's kind of my recommendation to you guys this evening. Pay us on what we've done so we can shift gears to help you moving forward. And we've got to figure that out, because if you don't, guys, you're going to spin your wheels. You want the 6 inches, we're 2 inches away, we're probably already there. And if we pull out of your system, you know, it's not going to take long, and it's going to be right back to it. So what we need to do is get settled up so we can shift gears and let me spend the money that we don't have right now, because we're investing a lot right here on you guys. We are spending a lot of money in manpower here, but I need to shift gears a little bit to help you guys. Because right now, based on what I have heard and what I've seen, because I say that because I've spent a lot of time in this community, I opened up my remarks tonight based on the citizens of Fort Scott. And the reason I know these guys, because they know what's going on out there, and I've talked to a bunch of them, and they know we're here, and they don't want it to go back, because they talk about how well this town smells now. We don't want it to go back to that, but we've got to be able to help you guys.
Sure.
We got to be able to help you, but we got to close one chapter so I can open up the other, and I can shift gears, and that's what I'm asking tonight. Pay us on what we've done so far. Let's shift gears. Let's keep doing what we're doing to the end of the month. Let's shift gears, come up with a plan, come up with a proposal. Let's get back together and start with ADM and just do a roundtable discussion. You talk about the talent we have. Guys, we got a lot of education. We got a lot of talented folks besides the city of Fort Scott. I mean, you guys, there's a lot of smart people in this room. There's a lot of smart people sitting here. There's a lot of smart people in this community. We need to figure this out, because you said it, sir. We care about the citizens of Fort Scott. And that's what we do. We do too. We do too. And we're saving the taxpayer a lot of money right here. I mean, a lot of money for what we're doing it to clean this system out. But we just need to get paid on that so we can shift gears to help you figure this industrial sludge out.
Pete, did you have something to add?
Yes, I do.
For right now, yes, sir. Thank you.
First of all, you have lagoons. Lagoons basically treat by 3 things. You have air, you have temperature, and time. Temperature hasn't exactly been your friend through the winter. A whole lot different dealing with something in Texas than it is dealing with something here. Temperatures make all the difference in the world with your bugs. Why did you have to go to a bigger treatment plant? Because lagoons don't treat wastewater, ammonias, and if you overload a lagoon system, it has nothing to treat it. The aeration system that you put in has not been turned on yet. So you're jumping to do something, you are doing something, but it takes time. That needs to be turned on. That's phase 1. As far as my biggest disappointment with AMS is that they've never, ever sampled the sludge to tell me what's in it. Sludge is both biologically treatable and non-treatable material. This lagoon, as was stated earlier, is a overflow lagoon. It gets stormwater. What's carried in stormwater? Clay, rocks, silt, all of that goes into your lagoon. Why is it gritty? Probably because it has non-biodegradable material in it. I have a trouble saying that you can drop the sludge down to zero when you don't know what the component of the sludge is. And that's one of my biggest beefs on that thing, is how can you tell me you're gonna take it all out when you don't know what's in it? They're putting bugs in it, bacteria. Bacteria is what's naturally in there. That's what you aerate it, you build up the bugs. You're right, you overfeed it. COD said sample it. We have sampled it, folks. We took a sample directly out of there, if you remember. We had a different lab sample it. And that's where we came up with the CBOD levels being a 50-day BOD. And that's where we got the BOD level so high from the COD. And that's what started the whole process of changing what they were paying you by changing all of that based on truly making them pay for what they were sending you. The tank system, one of the worst things you can do with any treatment plant is slug it. And that's what you're doing. You're slugging it. Bugs can't eat it simultaneously. Bugs like a continuous feed of material. If you slug it, bugs are happy for a minute, and they starve to death the next. It's not how you keep a treatment plant operating. Your treatment plant operates the same. Basically, you have a continuous flow into your treatment plant. That's air on, air off. It's a biological treatment facility. The lagoon was never meant to treat industrial waste. It isn't. You're putting in a waste system into a lagoon and asking the lagoon to do what your aeration basin does. Not realistic. Aeration in cell 1, once it's got phase 1 and phase 2 in it, we're basically saying that that can handle about 5,000 BOD. Problem is you're getting a lot higher than that because of the CBOD that you're getting. Yes, ADM needs to do more on their pretreatment side. The tank has nothing to do with treatment. The tank has to do with stop slugging it and feeding it in over time so that your bugs can do their work they're designed to do. You're never going to get rid of biodegradable or non-biodegradable sludge. Second of all, they're not giving you sludge, they're giving you wastewater. Okay? There's not a tank of sludge that they're dumping. They're pulling water out of the lagoon system. It's a wastewater. It's a high concentration of wastewater. Yes, ADM needs to do more. Like you, I thought they were doing something to get rid of that glycerin. You know it's glycerin. They know it's glycerin.
No, no, Jason, it's a question we'd asked Jason before in here as well. Have they said what they're doing as far as corrective actions when we first started working on this thing? And like the letter that went out in October, we never even got a response to the letter back. So how are we supposed to feel confident? You know, to me, putting another tank over here just opens up the door to bring more in and dump it over here without still taking any corrective actions where it's being sent to us from.
The tank allows your system to work better. It's got nothing to do with bringing more or less. It's eliminating the slug factor. It's really that simple. That's what it's doing. It's eliminating that slug. Instead of giving 6,000 gallons of high concentration in a matter of minutes, you spread it out over hours. That makes a big difference to a system. What that has a bunch of hungry mouths trying to eat it. And so that's what the tank is for. And I agree with you that ADM needs to do something. We've not been involved with these meetings, unfortunately. I think I don't know what's going on with ADM. They went from paying minimal dollars to considerable, and yet they still haven't taken action. So I agree with you. I think you need to get with ADM, and you don't want to shut them down, obviously. At the same point, they have to realize that there's going to be additional charges if we can't take care of this because we're gonna have to take care of it. KDH&E is gonna require it. And right now, KDH&E's agreed that we're proceeding with doing some things, like adding the aeration. The aerators are in, but they're not on yet. The curtain wall's whole idea of that is to force the flow to use your whole lagoon. And that's typical of a lagoon design, to force the flow through the aerators to get the most time along through those aeration. Like I said, all you got is time, temperature, and air. That's it. That's all a lagoon has. There's no magic to that. Bugs don't like cold weather. Just like you and me. Bugs don't work well in the wintertime. That's why ammonias go up in the wintertime in a lagoon system, because the bugs aren't doing their job very well. But I'm not opposed to what AMS is doing. They obviously are reducing the sludge. But at the same point, what is in that sludge? If it's gritty, what do you think it is? The fact that it's been in there for 20 years from stormwater. I mean, that's what it is, stormwater. And it's going to carry grit. There is a portion of any sludge that is non-biodegradable. Simple fact. I think we need to proceed with what we are doing. I think we need to get those aerators on. Part of it was they were obviously had time getting equipment, getting materials and everything else in here. AMS thought they were going to be out of here in February, so they're trying to fix everything up to be able to turn the aerators on toward the end of February. Now we're getting close to the end of March, and so we just need to get them turned on.
Yeah, Scott?
I spoke with Mike Ruby from EPEC, who's in charge of putting that triple point aeration system in last Thursday, and asked him to begin mobilization to go ahead and get those finished. So that's already in the works. His, whatever the contractor, I don't remember who they were, but they were here Friday, and they're going to start doing that. But like Pete said, in January, we were at however many inches, and we thought, okay, 3 weeks, So we were just, and I've been holding off. And so finally, Thursday, I just said, no, come on, let's do it. Let's get this in here and get it going and get that air pumping in there. So that's already started. Sounds good. That's my few words.
So as part of that original plan that was presented, we've completed phase 1, phase 2,
Phase 1.
just phase 1. What are the other portions of phase 2 that we need to get?
Phase 2 is adding more additional aeration.
Okay.
Cell 1 and cell 2 and cell 3. I think there's, something like that total when it's done. I think basically half of them are in.
And at the rate that we're getting, using this 35,000 gallons a day, is the tank beneficial to the process? What size of tank do we, I know we had originally talked about like a 50 to 100,000 gallon tank. Is that correct, Jason? 150,000 gallon tank.
Right.
At the rate that they're bringing it to us, if that 35,000 gallons a day does in fact hold true, do we need to consider enlarging that tank for the benefit of the system?
Well, actually, part of it is the tank, 150,000 gallon tank is large enough to do what we need to do. It allows us to store it and slowly release it. The whole intent of the tank is not to do a bunch of pre-treatment in it.
Okay.
The whole idea is simply to have storage so we can slowly release it in and feed those bugs continuously over 24 hours versus slugging it and then having no food for them at all. Now, we'll have mixers in there, and we'll mix it with air because you don't want stuff to settle in the tank. But that's really not its main purpose.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Almost talked enough about sludge this evening.
I feel like having a milkshake right now. I don't know about everybody else.
Yes, sir.
Last comment from us is we just finished a job at Hot Sulphur Springs, Colorado. There's 3 foot of snow between us and getting out of there. We had temperatures down in the negatives for a month, and we were able to complete that job. I agree with my friend. He's right. Bugs slow down in the winter. He's not wrong about that. But we put so many bugs in that thing, we still should be winning the fight. And we've done this in Missouri. We've done this in Colorado. There's multiple places in cold weather that we've been able to be successful, and we've never failed on a single job.
Thank you.
And do you have any more, do you plan on, what's the next step with AMS? Do you plan on meeting with them again, or?
I'd say we need to, yes. I'd say they need to be part of the meeting that we're gonna have with ADM next week.
And is that a good time frame for them next
Monday
week?
works for me.
For you guys next week, is that good?
Okay. And, you know, it could be Teams, Zoom, whatever. We can make it work.
And as far as these additional items that, almost, was it a year ago? Or is it, we were going up on a year and a half, that the engineers had requested that we complete within the lagoons to try to help with this system? Do we feel like as a commission we need to move forward more? Maybe start phase 2?
Yep.
I'm good with that. So Brad, you'll let us know when we all
Get her
get together.
scheduled. Yep. I'll
Thank you,
work with
sir.
all of them.
And to everyone, the guys at AMS, Earl's Engineering, all of you, know that we do appreciate the hard work that you're putting in to help us take care of this situation. And the citizens appreciate it as well, so.
Even Scott sitting back there. Thank you, Scott.
Scott?
And I forgot to give a shout out to my buddy Max on TV.
All right, if there's nothing else on the sludge removal, we'll move on to the presentation of Reno Dry, the report from Memorial Hall.
Hello. Do I need to turn anything on here?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. Okay.
Said it's better since
Okay.
Lisa crawled underneath there and turned it up, so.
I hope we don't get a pop quiz on sludge. That was incredible. This is a different situation that you guys are presented with here, and that's the moisture issues in the Memorial Hall that are coming up underneath the building. I guess for the record, I'm Michael Clancy. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Reno Dry USA. We dry out old buildings and we preserve the masonry foundations of these old buildings by removing the moisture that's coming up underneath the building and drawing out the excess salts that are causing the foundation to erode. So back in January, Norm Nation and I went over there and he showed me all around the foundation. Did you guys get a chance to look at the report at all?
Yes.
Okay, so do you guys have any questions on what rising damp is? Okay, pretty clear. All right, and so if you go back to some of those photos starting on page 7, you'll see with the hydrometer that we used during the inspection, which gives us just an indication that the moisture is present. It doesn't tell us the exact percentage of moisture that's in that masonry. That's done when we actually install the system in the building, where we go in and we take core samples. We go 3 to 4 inches in the wall in some predetermined areas, and we measure those samples, dry them out, reweigh the dry sample. The difference between the wet and dry tells us the percent of moisture in that wall. And we do that again after 1 year, and we do it again after 3 years, so that we can show you guys that we dried out the building. So if you look at some of these hydrometer readings, on this particular hydrometer, it's made in Germany. Instead of the American ones that go to 100, this one goes to 200. So 200 being saturated, 0 being dry. So if you look at some of these readings in the worst areas, they're in the 144 range. A human body reads about 160 to 165 on a hydrometer. So when you're seeing readings this high on a hydrometer on dense masonry, it gives you an indication just how much moisture is actually present in that wall. The walls in the Memorial Hall are saturated. And you can see the deterioration in each one of these photographs, and these are just a handful. If you guys have taken any time to walk around the basement of the Memorial Hall, you'll see it in a lot of areas. So along with that, you get a lot of damp, musty smells when that moisture is present, which also, of course, precludes the possibility of mold growth. We don't claim to handle mold, but we also know that when you remove all the moisture, mold will die. So you saw down towards the bottom, we proposed to put our system in the Memorial Hall. To the county, we gave you guys an extremely good price because we really care about these old buildings. We put it down for $35,000. That's for a 16,000 estimated square foot footprint on that building. Just to give you an idea, the courthouses, which are usually what we dry out, buildings half that size usually come in about 20 to 25,000. So we really did give you guys a nice price on it because we want to take care of it for you guys. So unless you have any questions.
So we know that there are many places where water's getting into the building. This will just dry out the water that's wicking up from underneath, correct? It won't help deal with the water that's coming in through the other penetrations?
Well, the water we guarantee that we'll get rid of is the water that's coming up underneath. The system will actually remove the moisture from almost all the organic materials in the building. So it will remove all that moisture, even all the way up to the roof. It's just that we can't guarantee that those will stay dry, because if you have perforations in the wall, any of that tuck pointing's failing, you have flashing around windows, caulking that's dried up, you get a driving rain and it comes in through those openings, gets behind the wall, we can't stop that. But where before that moisture would get trapped in that wall and stay there for years and years, our system will continually keep drying out that masonry.
How long does the system run?
Well, we have a 25-year warranty on it, but as far as we can tell, it should last 80 to 100 years. There's no moving parts, there's no electricity to it, there's none of the materials inside the antennas will corrode. So, I mean, we have a 3-year dry guarantee on it with a 25-year warranty.
And what's the maintenance on it? What has to be done on a daily basis? Anything?
No, there's no maintenance whatsoever once we put it in. All we would ask is when you start doing any restoration, renovation work on any of the masonry, you give it, and this building's pretty wet. We're drying out buildings now in 3 to 18 months. I would probably give it 9 months to a year to really make sure that moisture is released out of that masonry before you start doing any tuck pointing, replastering, anything like that.
And you're saying that these units will work for how many years once they're in
We
place?
warranty it for 25 years, but we don't have any reason to believe it won't last 80 to 100 years. There's systems over in Europe that are still running, they're over 35 years old. I know you guys been having issues with smells in Fort Scott. This is one of them. We can get rid of it for you.
Is this like a payment plan, or is this an all upfront deal?
It is a one-time fee. But, if you break that down over the 25-year warranty we have, it's one hell of an insurance policy for this Memorial Hall to keep it dry.
Have you had anybody call in the warranty? Have you replaced a unit?
Never once. We've never had to issue one refund ever.
So,
We've been doing this for 8 years.
So with this system, we put it in there, even a while after a rain has taken place, kind of like a dehumidifier works. It should dry that up as well if it's laying on the floor, right?
Well, yes, actually, the thing to differentiate between what our system does and what a dehumidifier does, dehumidifiers are handling the atmospheric moisture in the building. Our system is only handling the moisture that's in the masonry and other organic materials. So, you know, a lot of people, you put a dehumidifier in a basement, you'll notice the thing runs forever, right? Well, there can only be so much moisture in that basement, and the air, why does it keep running? It's because it's literally drawing the moisture through those walls from the wet dirt on the outside into that space, and that's why it'll run forever and ever. We put our system in, you dry out that masonry, and pretty soon the dehumidifiers just stop running. So it also depends on the air tightness of the building and how well your HVAC system's working, of course. But you know, initially when we start releasing the moisture out of the walls, we do recommend you have the dehumidifiers running. You'll find eventually they start running less and less and less. And then they just stop running.
How exactly does the antenna system pull the moisture out of the masonry?
Well, the antennas aren't literally pulling the moisture out. They're just hitting the same series of frequencies that cause that electromagnetic bond between the water and the masonry. It's a similar concept to the TV antennas we used to have on the roofs. There's no power to those antennas, but yet you turn on your TV and you had a picture. The reason being is that those antennas on the roof were tuned to the exact same frequencies that the TV stations are broadcasting on. So it literally collects that frequency. So our antennas do the same thing, but they're tuned to a set of frequencies that cause the water to bind to the masonry. So we hit those frequencies, it breaks that bond. Now gravity can push the water back out of the wall. It's pretty smart.
How long they've been doing this again?
Well, we've been doing it for 8 years in the U.S., but the technology's been around since the 90s. And we actually have a second generation technology now with new patents that are in the process of going through the USPTO. The patents have already been issued in Europe and Australia. And it's been published here in the U.S. It just hasn't been issued yet. So we're real close to that. Where before it took us 1 year to 3 years to dry out a building, we're doing it now in 3 months to 18 months. So it's radically improved. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Have you guys had a chance to call any of the references?
Not yet.
Okay. Definitely should call them if you get a chance. I know we gave you one that was closest to you guys right over in Vernon County in Nevada. You could go over and talk to the commissioners over there. They'd be happy to share with you the experience.
Which building did they put it in over there?
The courthouse.
Courthouse?
Yeah. So, and it's been in there for 3 years, so you'll be able to see the full results there.
In Barton County, where did you guys do the courthouse there also?
That's right.
Lamar, Missouri.
Yep. Okay. And we have it in Anderson County right here and in Woodson County. We're up in Donovan County, up in the northeast corner. So we're in 12% of the courthouses in Missouri now. We're trying to get Kansas caught up.
Well, I would move to give us an opportunity to call the references that are on there. And then I'd like to make this an agenda item for a vote at the next commission meeting. I think 2 weeks gives us enough time to call references on this, or even go over and look at the one in Vernon County.
Yeah, right now you've got money sitting in Memorial Hall for capital items. It's $150,000. That capital's been pushed out to 25, so the money's still there, just not allocated. So you've got the money to do this. You just go through the process.
I know the gentleman from Lamar, so I can reach out to him.
All right, do we have a second for Tim's motion?
So I'll second that.
Great. So do you want me here for that next meeting, or?
Well, just if you want to hear a vote, whether it's yes or no, you're welcome to show up.
Absolutely.
Hope you're not driving far in case it doesn't go your way.
It's okay. It's only an hour away.
It wouldn't hurt, I mean, if you wanted to, in case after we talk to these folks or actually go see it, if we had any questions. Sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'll just plan on being here same time 2 weeks from today, you said?
Yes, sir.
make sure you sign up for before the sludge discussion.
Okay.
And you can leave sooner.
All right, so Josh Jones, Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Item C, consideration of proposal for Memorial Hall steps, mid-continental restoration.
Howdy. Brad asked me to come and just kind of go over the proposal with you. I know this has been a evolution. I think Chase had actually proposed something a while back, and then Earl's Engineering put out a bid, and then we kind of revisited it and revised proposal to get to kind of a middle ground. You know, with our visual assessments, we're very limited to what we do, but however, we feel comfortable with what we did. So this revision includes some of the items that Earl's Engineering had, some of the work on the surrounding brick columns, and then we included a contractor contingency. I know Brad and I talked about our original proposal having so many square footage, and then we had a unit cost in there to allow for more once we start getting into demoing concrete, which it likes to run if there's corroded steel and all that. So we bumped up some footages and included that contractor contingency in there to use if we need to, and then you'll get that back if we don't. So we feel pretty comfortable with this round of proposals, and pretty self-explanatory after that. I'm sorry, I took over Chase's role here in Kansas, Missouri, January 1, so he proposed this prior, and so I'm kind of learning, taking over as well. So I don't know, I'm assuming this has been brought up before, but I'll answer any questions you guys have about that.
Yeah, I had a question on the proposal itself. On page number 3 of 6, where you have steps outlined in red. I'm assuming this is for the entire set of steps, not just the area you have outlined in red.
Correct, yeah, it's for the whole
And-
set there.
And then within the agreement, also looking at this, it says proposal includes 450 square feet of concrete repair. If necessary, additional concrete repair can be completed on a unit price basis at $117 per square foot. Would that fall underneath that maximum allowable contingency plan, or is the contingency plan something else?
Yeah, that would fall in that contingency plan that we.
So in other words, if it turned out you had a lot more than that you needed to repair, $6,300 would be the additional cap for the contingency
Right,
that we.
yeah. Yeah.
And then how confident are you based on this? And I did read through the whole, you guys did a great job. I appreciate you putting this together of exactly the process of what you were going to do as far as, you know, the edges and tucking and everything else goes on. You do a job like this, you put it on there, in your experience, how long will it be before something has to be done to those stairs again?
Well, there's different variations of repair that we give years to. This deck coating system that so basically we're sounding it, we're going to be demoing and sounding all loose and delaminated concrete, and if there's any steel, treating that in the process, and so using a polymer modified patch or something that lasts a little longer and has a little bit more movement capabilities to it as a good base to it, and then we're coating it with a waterproof membrane and treating all the joints underneath it. So you know, I would assume this is easily a 25, 30-year fix in my mind without question. A lot of the stuff we do is 50 to 100 year with this concrete. You know, concrete's sort of a messy product. I feel it would be a 20, 25 year.
Yeah, like I said, I think that, you know, where you described how, you know, pulling out to a certain depth, what's bad and all, I think you may end up going deeper than what you thought you needed to
Yeah,
go in some of those places.
And that's kind of, I reassessed it. I got a hold of the proposal, and I went and looked at the site again and reassessed it. And, you know, we just kind of threw a little bit more on there to feel comfortable and confident. I think that ceiling that we gave you on this new proposal, well, we'll do it for that regardless. So, I mean.
And what would be, if we approve this, how soon could it be started, and what would be the estimated time to completion?
Sure. I told Brad I'd honor the bid form that we put out with Earl's Engineering, and I think that's approaching pretty quick. I think in April or something, date we gave them. So it's been on our radar, and, we wanna take care of it as well. So, the duration, it's likely gonna be, 5 or 6 weeks in my mind. It may speed up, it may slow down, but I think pretty close to that.
And that was with an April timeframe to start?
I believe so, yeah, off the bid form. We can move that back if you don't want it started as quick, but, like I said, it's been on our radar, and, we'll take care of it, so. It's a hometown problem that we're facing as well, so.
The only thing I didn't see in here that I had a question about was the railings.
Yeah, that was in there.
Yeah, so we're
They're gonna remove them, but they're not gonna paint them.
right, we'll remove them and store them on site at
Yep.
Memorial Hall, and then put them back. I think Brad and I had a discussion that potentially some replacement, if you all want, but that's not in this.
Right here on page 5, we shall remove and reset handrails to allow access to work area. Recoating of handrails is excluded from this proposal. We shall store materials on site.
Any other questions?
Is this something we want to move forward on this evening? Or do we want to add it to the agenda for next meeting?
I think the bid is good until when you said?
We'll hold it. No issue on that, so.
And Ben, even if we elected to go forward with the Reno Drive within the Memorial Hall budget, we're still good, even if we did both of them. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to see that beautiful building anymore with those ropes hanging up in front of it. I know MCR is a local organization, and I believe this gentleman, John, when he says that they want to see it fixed for our town as much as anybody else. And Brad, we sent bids out, and this was really the only
This was the only one.
one we got back. So,
And they've actually came back and visited me and gotten better, so we're good.
figure 25 years, I'd be gone by then, if not sooner.
I hear that a lot.
See what's left. But if it'll last that long, I would move forward with MCR for their bid that they submitted for $84,495,000 with a $6,300 cap for anything unforeseen that takes place. And they're saying they'd be able to start that in June and finish it in 5 to 6 weeks, barring weather or other issues.
You said start June or start April?
No, I just threw in there that they have estimated that they would start in April and it would take 5 to 6 weeks to complete. But I did include the bid price plus the $6,300 contingency.
All right. Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. We look forward to having you guys fix it.
Thank you all.
All right, next item is consideration of the bid for the Fort Scott Pavilion tabled from the 3/7 meeting.
We were going to get, Jason, we were going to get some pricing on smaller sizes? Kind of a pavilion light version?
Right, so we requested him get quotes for taking off, I think, 1 to 2 sections, so 25 to 50 feet, but we haven't got those numbers back yet, so.
I know that I had a meeting with the Fort Scott Pavilion Committee today. We went over the proposed project. Sproles had already said that if they didn't have to do that tie across the bottom, they'd knock 40,000 off, which brings the total price of the project to 169,000.
Or no, 190,
Yeah.
190,
190,000.
just over, whatever.
Okay. So, there is the ability of possibly getting some funds from the county as well. They're going to have a meeting and talk about whether or not they might be able to contribute to this, since the farmer's market is something that is utilized for county people as well. The committee asked me to bring to the commission that we see if it is possible to move forward with the project and bridge that funding for right now until we could be reimbursed later.
Just me personally, I'd still like to see what the other options were that were available. I don't know if we budgeted, I mean, there's $50,000 from the T-Mobile grant, right?
And then we had 50,000 that the city had already matched.
That the city had matched, so we're still 90,000
Yes.
short on doing this, and then painting. I mean, I don't mind, we can paint the things ourselves, but I would have liked to have seen before I voted on it what the other options were that Mr. Sproles might have had available as far as a reduced size goes.
Did he give any indication when he would be able to get those prices to you?
No, he just knew it would take a bit. So I'll call him first thing tomorrow. Try to get up,
I mean,
if he'd be ready next time.
We take this to the design review board.
Well, that's the question, is if we're going to stick with this design or if we're going to go with the smaller design, then we'll need to have that figured out so that we can present it to the design review board.
can we present it to them as it will either be this number of feet or it'll be this number of feet, but the design itself will be the same?
I believe that we could present it to them, yes.
But, I mean, I want the pavilion down there, I really do. I mean, I was excited when the city got the grant, but, again, it is pretty enormous and we can do a lot of good things with it, but I would like to see what Mr. Sproles can have. So, I mean, if I was gonna do a motion, I'd move to table it until the next meeting to see if we can get that by then. Because when he spoke to us, when he was here at the last meeting, I had the impression that it was something that he thought he could get to us quickly.
Yeah, 2 weeks wasn't enough time, so.
And then in the meantime, take it to the design review board.
Well, I mean, the design, I don't think itself is gonna change.
Won't
Right.
change.
If we needed to take it and just tell them it's either gonna be 150 feet long or it might be 100 feet wide or,
I just want to make sure we take it there before we.
oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Don't wanna vote on that either till they've had a chance to look at
Right.
it.
Yeah, part of the problem is when you change the size, those end beams are actually smaller than the beams in the interior. So they've got to
So then
redesign essentially.
adding on, it would.
Yeah. So when you add on, you got to, if you stop it short, then that end beam is not really an end beam, it's an interior beam. And so that changes just a little bit. So yeah, all the.
I made a motion to table it until the next meeting. However, with the caveat of if the commission wants to go ahead and present the design with the caveat that it could be this long or this long to the design review board to do that, but as far as voting on going with the $190,000, you know, to wait to see if Mr. Sproles can give us the cost for those other sizes.
You good with that motion?
Yeah.
Lisa, you got all of that? Okay, I'll second his.
Move to table until we get
I just wanted to make
additional
sure.
quotes for smaller size pavilions and to forward this design over to the design review board.
In the meantime, Ben can look and see where funding might come from.
Yeah.
As a gap.
Yes, that was one of the things that was brought forward in the committee meeting, was whether or not we had additional funds in the parks, because this would be considered something that would be added to a park. And in the meantime, we'll continue to reach out. There is the possibility of getting at least one grant as well, but we would not be able to get the grant. If we wanted to try to get it built this year, we would not be able to get that grant in time to build it this year. So. Item E.
Oh, well, we need a vote.
Sorry, I'm excited. Let's move on.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones, Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Am I good to move on now, Tim?
Just looking out for you.
Thank you, sir. Barnes Lake Lot easement, Thomas Russell.
Good evening, guys, how are you? I had sent out earlier in the week a packet with some information. Did each of you get a chance to look over that?
Yes, sir.
So essentially on this situation, what had happened, the gentleman that purchased the lot bought it with the understanding that it was a buildable lot. However, speaking with neighbors who were aware of the lot and situation from prior stated and had told him that it was not something that was going to be allowed to be built on. So I had looked into it some for him. He had come in here requesting a vacation of an easement. However, in looking over it, the only two easements on the property, on the west edge of the property along the lakeside, is the city sewer line that runs there. There would be an easement of 20 feet on either side of that. On the east side of the lot is where rural water runs through. There would be an easement of 20 feet on either side of that. Essentially, his request for the easement was based on old information that his surveyor had found, that with the deed information and so forth that I had sent out to you guys on, it shows where the county had released theirs in 85. And then the city released it and sold it with a clear title, no restrictions for personal recreation or residential usage. So essentially, I was just here this evening to let you know there was no reason to really address it further because everything had already been taken care of. I didn't know, he said that he was going to try to be here this evening. I have not met Mr. Barnes yet, so, but it doesn't look like that he had made it in.
I met him Saturday night. He's not here.
Okay.
I don't recognize anybody in the crowd.
So, yeah, essentially, what it was the issue that he believed that he had was not real.
So in other words, this was already vacated and open for this use, it just the records were not updated to indicate
The
that.
records that his surveyor found were not updated, and so more than anything else, that's what I'm waiting to hear back, who his surveyor, or where that surveyor had gotten the records, so that we could make sure the county is getting them updated as well.
But as far as our records go, in 2005, the city sold this property and already had cleared that up and gave the previous owner clear title to it. So there's
Correct.
nothing for us to.
There's nothing for us to worry about on it. It's already good, and he's wanting to, obviously, required to use the city sewer, but he's excited that that's there rather than having to use septic and having the rural water line there. That's both services that he's looking forward to having, so good to go on it.
Thank you for looking into all that, Thomas. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to appearances. First one will be Mr. Breyer. Talk to us about the shutdown of the river park.
Good evening again. I'm Corey Briers, representing Care to Share, and we're asking the city to close the Riverfront Park on Saturday, September 30th for a Care to Share Fort Fest. It will be a combination of musical events, barbecue contest, kid events. I think that's the big pieces. Any questions about that? I'd love to answer them.
I appreciate you filling out the form. Sorry you had to come back again for that. Also really like the flyer you put together on there. It looks like it's going to be a great time, but I didn't see any issues with it. I would move to approve the application for the shutdown on Riverfront Park on the requested day.
I second that.
Can I ask one question? Would you need any barricades or anything set up by the city?
We will need barricades. We will either be able to provide them or we can ask for them if they're available. So I guess if you're quasi-offering, yes.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we provide them for a lot of other people. Just want to let the guys know in a little bit in advance, and we'll make sure and get you taken care of. 'Cause
Once it's closed, the checklist starts, every box starts getting knocked off, so.
thank you for allowing us to put on such a great thing down there at the park for us.
Thank you all. I guess you haven't voted yet, have you?
No, we have,
Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Katie Harrington?
yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes. Speak up, Katie.
Yes.
Request for temporary street closure for the tacos and tailgates. Aaron Foxworth.
I don't think he's here. I think it's the same event as last year that they had there, Farmer Bride, so.
Yeah, it is.
I'd make the motion to accept the temporary street closure as stated in the application.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was first?
Josh was first.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Katie Harrington?
Yes.
Josh Jones?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes. Item 3, Mr. O'Brien, good old days.
Thank you for your attention tonight. Thank you for having me here. I'm Sean O'Brien, Chairman of the Fort Scott Good Old Days. For 42 years, the Good Old Days has been a family-oriented event that has not only benefited the citizens of our town, but has also drawn many visitors. Our committee meets year-round to provide everyone the best experience possible. All of this is done on a volunteer basis. The Good Old Days weekend is one of the most highly attended events in Bourbon County. During this one weekend, there is greatly increased hotel taxes, vendor-paid taxes, and restaurant tax revenue that benefits this town. We, as the committee, have prided ourselves on providing family-friendly entertainment at little or no cost. Some examples of this have been face painting, balloon animals, caricature drawings, and many more things. In light of our difficulty in the past few years to secure a carnival, we've been able to add bounce houses to the list of fun entertainment for our children. Of course, I cannot forget our variety of live entertainment that will take place in downtown Fort Scott. Every year, this is also an opportunity for the high school and community college to participate in fundraisers to support their own programs. We appreciate everything the city has done to support our efforts in closing down the streets and the first responders who help us on the weekend of the activities. As we continue to provide this festival, to highlight Fort Scott and boost economic development, we would ask the City Commission for a financial donation of $5,000 again this year, but any amount is always appreciated. We strive to do our best in providing all the fun activities that will make the citizens of Fort Scott happy and entertained for one weekend out of the year. With the loss of our carnival, we lost a big chunk of revenue, and a financial donation from the city would help us secure more child-oriented activities. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and support of the Fort Scott Good Old Days.
You're also wanting other stuff too, though, right? You're wanting the streets.
I'm going to do that in 2 weeks on April the 4th.
Okay.
So, but this is just.
When is Good Old Days?
It is June 2nd and 3rd. Friday evening starts our parade at 6 p.m. And then our Grand Marshal, I actually just secured that. And then we have entertainment Friday night, and then we have entertainment all day Saturday. I have 3 or 4 bands. 4, I think it is. So we're pretty excited. So Bobby Dagonia, I'll go ahead and just throw out some names. Bobby Dagonia, the Whiskey Outlaws, and then we have Saturday night is 80s and out. So we're excited. Any other questions for me? I know you can't vote on it tonight, but put it into your consideration and we would appreciate it. Oh, I didn't think you could. Was it on the agenda? Oh, it was. In the past, it's always been I come, ask for it, and then
we have to put it on the.
Then you have to put it on the agenda in 2 weeks. Do you?
That's just the way we've always done it.
That was my understanding. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Well, I would ask Ben or Brad, do we have the funding?
Yeah, we do, we're okay there.
I had already conversed with Brad. So.
How many man hours do we usually put?
We put a lot of hours in it with our street crew. And he said he's coming back to the next meeting. One thing, Sean, I would ask is, I don't think it was good old days, but it's gonna run into the same thing, is last year we had an incident with a food truck that claimed that we did not give them the right amount of electric and it fried their food truck.
That was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, the suit just got settled, so it took that long. I would ask that you have a waiver form for that, because we'll supply electric, but we're not liable if they're not telling us what they actually need. And that would be the only thing, but manpower is probably 4 or 5 guys for 2 days.
I would think that we would just probably have something with Good Old Days saying they're liable for anything they're vendors.
We haven't in the past.
Yeah. I mean,
We
I
sure
would
can.
suggest that, just to, I mean, I'm assuming they have event insurance and everything.
Correct.
So what we do, streets have about 4 or 5 guys on Thursday, Friday. That helps out with that. Then we have our law enforcement. Everybody's on duty for that Friday for the parade. We try to help out as much as we can on that. So.
My only thing is, I know in the past, I know other nonprofits have asked for your guys' help in some things, you guys have denied it, and so I would just really hope that in future, if you're getting city funds, you guys would look into possibly collaborating, working with other groups in town to try to benefit them and yourselves.
I assume you're talking about stages.
Well, just Christmas in the Park, Care to Share event, those things, yeah. So,
I assume you're talking about what I just stated, the stages.
I've about multiple things, yeah.
Okay. And we can discuss that. You and I.
And I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I just look into that, I mean, because we're all here together and, you know, we're giving money to this, and so just consider it, you know, going forward, maybe when other groups out there that are volunteering their times, maybe ask for stuff, but just a suggestion.
And you'll do a pre-event meeting like we did last year.
Yes, when I walked in, I actually talked to Pickert and Bruner and
That'd be really
reminded them
good.
that we would like to meet and go over logistics and everything.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Thank you.
Do you know if next meeting you're here, if anything's gonna be different, you're asking from the city than in the past?
I actually sent it to Lisa today. It's the exact same. I took off, of course, we won't be utilizing the splash pad area, but we will still want that blocked off because that keeps people from coming into downtown. So the biggest difference, of course, we block off Main Street now, 2 o'clock on Friday, because we set up food trucks on the east side of Main Street. So that brings in additional revenue.
You guys did loan at least, you loaned garbage cans to the reunion committee, right?
Correct. And we loaned our stages to Care to Share with Corey for the September Jazz and Blues Festival.
I think it's a good message, though, all the organizations in town.
And I'm just, you know, just suggestions, so.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again here in 2
Well,
weeks.
we are excited to see you again.
He's probably never heard that before. Someone was looking forward to seeing him.
I'm always happy to see him.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, that concludes our appearances. We'll move on to, is there a public hearing for this evening? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move on to new business. Item A, consideration to purchase 2 fire hydrants. Bill Lemke.
Yes.
Yep. Good evening. Back July last year, I sent quotes out for some fire hydrants. Quotes came back, and I did not feel that the the amount of fire hydrants that I had requested to be quoted on, that we could afford them at that time, so I scaled back the order. There was a miscommunication apparently somewhere. Here just recently, I received those fire hydrants. I received what I asked for on the quote, not what I actually ordered. I've talked to the vendor. The vendor will take them back. They'll come and pick them up. However, they've also given us the option to purchase them at last year's prices. Prices this year have gone up anywhere in the neighborhood between $500 to $1,000 per hydrant. So if we send them back and we decide that, oh, wait, we need fire hydrants 4 to 6 months from now, we're going to be paying substantially more for them. So what I'm requesting on the purchase order there is that we go ahead and keep the fire hydrants, the extra fire hydrants that they sent, and pay for them at last year's prices instead of buying them in the future at higher prices.
What would the total savings be to our city?
I don't know because I didn't get current quotes, just kind of estimates, but what they told me was that they've gone up a minimum of 500. It probably, depending on who you're getting them from, up to $1,000 more per hydrant. And last year's fire hydrants were about $2,500 a piece. So that means this year they're well over $3,000 a piece.
You got 2 hydrants already, but they're the wrong hydrants.
No, they're the correct hydrants.
Okay.
They're just
Scaled back, and then they sent in the original.
Than he ordered.
yes.
Okay.
More than ordered, so. And
Yeah.
how often do you replace? I mean, is it something that we'll need?
Right now we have at least 3 hydrants on the Horton Street project that's proposed that will need to be changed out. Although this particular hydrant doesn't appear to be damaged, one at Second and National, you have people who hit hydrants. You can't predict when that's going to happen. But we also have at least 5 more hydrants out the system that we have slated that need to be replaced. So,
And I know you said you cut back your order because of cost, but you're not concerned about that now, or
I'm sorry.
the cost, you're not concerned about the extra?
Being that we're in a new year on a different budget, that's why I put them on a new PO for this year's budget. Last year's budget, I was concerned about the cost, where we were at that time. This year, I feel like we're okay. And chances are, to be honest, chances are we may not have to order any more hydrants this year, but I don't know that for sure. Like I said, there depends on what happens. And
But your recommendation is just go ahead and.
my recommendation is that we'd be saving ourselves quite a little bit of money by going ahead and purchasing these hydrants, because they're just going to go up.
All right, I'll make that motion to allow that.
Well, I'd have one question on here. I mean, are the wind water ones the one? Because, I mean, I'm glad I see more than one bid in the packet, but the one from Windwater has an expiration date of 8/18/22. So this,
Again, those are last year. Those are the quotes that I got last year, showing you the
okay,
prices.
but then you have one on the purchase order. So these are the last year's quotes that are,
from
all of these are
from
from last
municipal
year.
supply. Yeah, those are all last year's numbers. I don't have numbers for you for this year.
Well, I thought the number for this year was what's on the purchase order here.
Yes, they're honoring last year's prices because they ordered them last year, and they're on the pricing that municipal supply, when they bought them, they purchased them back in July of 2022. So that's why they can honor that price. Instead of if I ordered them this year and they were purchasing them from Mueller, the price would be higher.
Well, since we're gonna need these anyway, and then we save money now,
Yeah.
I will second Josh's motion.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Item B, consideration of the banking service bids. Mr. Hart?
Is your mic on, Ben?
We sent out bank bids or bank proposals, and it was just fairly simple. We've got 3 bids back, UMB, Landmark, Citizens. UMB we threw out because of their fees were just astronomical. They also didn't suggest an interest rate on idle funds, which is normal for them. So
That
staying
was
low.
too much to read, too.
Sorry?
Too much to read, too, and that's my bank.
Yeah, mine too. So Landmark is our current depository. Citizens Bank was the added bid. What they had done is give us an estimated balance sitting there, and then suggested an interest rate. Bank fees for Citizens Bank, there weren't any fees. The Landmark Bank had about $150 in fees. It was the same what we pay now. So we just equalized the proposed balances that they showed at 12 million with the interest rates, and you can see the math. You can see the math. The 380,000 in interest earnings from Citizens Bank compared to Landmark current depository 437,000. Obviously, that is if those interest rates stay the same. They're based on a benchmark. But even with the benchmark, it's far in excess of what they pay now on our accounts. For instance, all of last year in the general fund, it was like $1,400 in interest earnings. This would be completely different.
Okay.
This is a 12 million, and it's not a required balance to be set there. The idle funds will be invested at 3.6% at what they are now, changing on a monthly basis. Anything above that, or for that matter, we get agreement with them below that, we can bid out for like a set CD, which runs around 5% right now. So our recommendation would be go ahead and award the agreement to Landmark Bank based on their proposed balance. And then what I'd like to do after that is come back to you guys with what a laddered investment might look like. And then if we bid those investments out, come back to you for approval for those investments.
And there's no, I mean, this is not really a linked contract, right? I mean, because over the last 10 years, based off these two, we would have made more money with Citizens Bank because of their 1% cap.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, I just think that we need to keep, now with you here, we can keep a better eye on.
Yeah.
3-year cycle? Is that what you feel?
Honestly, I wouldn't even, if they're not gonna put a cap on it, I would just watch the Fed fund rate and then, you know, if Citizens is willing to still cap it, which I doubt they would be. But,
Yeah, right.
So,
Well, and for that matter, and you brought up a good point. So if those rates drop, obviously the investment and the bidding of investments matter more than just keeping money in your idle funds. That 12 million, if the Fed funds rate drop like they did before, instead of 12 million in depository, you may have 2, and they will invest the rest of it. So that then becomes kind of almost irrelevant.
all right, so do we have a motion to move forward with awarding Landmark Bank?
Josh did.
yeah, I'll make that motion, yeah.
I'll second.
Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Katie Harrington?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes.
And then you're gonna come back to us with,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, what that would look like.
Thank you, Ben.
You bet.
Item C, consideration of the 2023 contract mowing bids.
I didn't see those in my packet.
It was a separate file because the agenda went out
That
before.
was my very first page.
That was mine too.
No, well, I get mine online, so I do not have a copy of it.
Yeah. Paper paid off.
You're killing trees, man.
You can look at mine. So by far, Miller's Lawn Care is the lowest on everything. And I personally believe it would be the benefit if he's going to guarantee us that rate for 3 years. With the way the price of everything else going up, I would say we lock him in for 3 years. at that price.
Have we stipulated what a large yard and a small yard is?
Yeah, it was a square footage,
Yes.
which I'm assuming they use
Same.
GIS.
Yes.
Oh, it's not on here.
It was in the contract we sent out. It was I think it was 6,000 square feet,
Okay.
or I don't know if that was right number.
$30, heck.
He really, yeah, I don't know. Yep.
He really does a good job for us. He does a really good job for us.
Yeah, I think the only reason he gives us this kind of deal is because he's one of those people that cares about the city. So, I mean,
He worked for the city back in the, well, we won't go that far, how long it's been, but it's been a while.
Now, is the land bank looking at using the same contract, piggybacking on that as well? And as he said, he would extend the same price to them?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, then I would move to award a 3-year contract to Miller's Lawn Service to mow the city's lawns and the land bank lawns.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones. Matthew Wells.
yes. Item D, consideration of Snyder Electric HVAC presentation of cost savings.
I had Sean Davies from Snyder Electric come in because one of the reasons none of us was here when the contract was signed. So I felt it would be good for him to come and explain exactly everything that Snyder Electric offers us and to also go over the benefits, and it's time to renew the contract, and that'd be something we'd be asked from you for.
I think did you come last year?
No, sir.
No.
No.
No, representative came from him last year, or the year before.
I believe it may have been Rusty Young last year. He is no longer with Schneider Electric. I took over in his stead. As Brad explained, I guess most of you were not present during the contract award for the performance contract that we did. That was performed, or the installation period of that was 2020. The cost of that contract was approximately $1.5 million. During that scope of work was a lot of mechanical system upgrades, lighting retrofits from incandescents to LEDs, building envelope sealing, as well as building automation system controls. So a lot of your HVAC controls, the thermostats on the walls, a lot of that tied into one system. All that was done at multiple, if not all of the buildings that I know of that Fort Scott owns. As well as in that contract, we offer performance, what we call PASS. It's Performance Assurance Support Services. The first 2 years of that was included in the contract. Those services include on-site services. So if when you need support, we come on-site to help service any issues that you may have. We offer remote support, which currently the city is using quite a bit, if not most of it is usually for scheduling and set point adjustments. We offer BAS monitoring so we can optimize energy usage, system and savings reportings. In all of that, we do measurement and verification. So what we're doing is we're checking the energy usage and cost that you're paying from month to month and comparing it on a yearly or an annual basis. With that said, the only building we are currently tracking savings in right now is at Buck Run. I do not fully understand or have the information on why that was the only building selected, but that happened to be what they chose in 2019 when the contract was signed. The total savings period for this contract was 20 years, with a approximate savings was right around $2.1 million. That's an annual savings of about $80,000. During the install period, which was not included in the annual savings amount, we estimated or guaranteed an approximate $10,000 savings we met $43,000. So, we did quite a bit of savings the install year. The next 2 years, year one, we hit 89.6 thousand, and year two, we hit 95.7. So we're increasing savings each year, totaling an approximate $230,000 as of right now. Those numbers are not completely verified yet. They won't be verified until probably closer to next week or the week after, because contract ended in February 28th. So we take about a month and a half, and we have to make sure that those numbers add up, but we don't want you to feel like we're presenting a number that may not be completely accurate.
So $239,000 in savings. Do you recall what we paid Schneider? 1.2 million.
The contract was 1.495 million, almost 1.5 million.
I mean, are a lot of these easily verified with electric bills? Like pull up electric bills
Yes.
from?
We actually have an online portal that is available to any number of officials with the city to be able to track those savings with.
I mean, it's as simple as us calling Evergy and just, because it's Buck Run's metered on its own, I believe.
We actually have a contract. In the contract, we are able to access your account with Evergy, so we can pull in those utility bills on a monthly basis. As Brad mentioned, the contract is up for renewal, so I do plan on putting in a couple of estimates for you, but I would like to take the period to kind of sit down with Brad and figure out where the city might find value. Are we looking at the savings as a value? Are we just looking at support? I know in a conversation I had today while I was out at La Roche working on a service issue, I think it was Doug Gunn was his name. You currently don't have like a dedicated HVAC or mechanical maintenance staff. Where we can offer help with that is operating the system when there may not be somebody on staff or with the city that knows how or understands the system itself.
And I'm just asking, not knowing,
Right.
the system hard enough to not have someone in-house setting schedules or?
No, the system is not difficult to operate at all. It's the understanding of when you have something goes offline, what to look for. Right. That's also included in the service contracts, which can be tailored to your needs. If you want on-site service, if you just want remote support, if you want a lot of the reporting that we do, as far as the savings reports goes, the system optimizations, all of that stuff. Like I said, it's really up to the city what they find value in. And that's what I want to sit down with Brad and talk to him about. I did bring some packets in. I know this was probably put on the agenda before I was able to put information together. But it covers the contract. There's a savings report covering the last 2 years plus the installation period, as well as a presentation that was put together whenever we first completed the construction period, stating what all we offer. As well as those reports and presentations, there's also a couple of what we call BAS reports. That basically covers where the system is operating at the current present time. So if we're looking through the system and we're saying, this is where we can start saving some money at, it may look at set points, it looks at scheduled times, and that's where we're guaranteeing savings is the times that we're shutting systems down. And we don't necessarily shut things down because we know temperatures do get, rather warm or rather cold, given the nature of the region that we're in. And so, you know, we don't want things turned off. We don't want to have issues where you might have building freezing events or anything like that. So we just try to shut the systems down enough to save on runtime.
If we, Sean, just hypothetically, say we cancel you today, is everything that we have ours?
Everything you have is yours.
Okay.
Just the support is basically what you're.
That would,
I mean, it is one of it. I mean, you have a
Yes.
couple, different- like you said, it's fit to our needs.
the service can be fit to your needs. Like I said, the first 2 years was covered in the initial contract. There would be a service fee moving forward each year. Like I said, it would be tailored to whatever the needs are. If you just wanted remote support and no other services, it would be whatever the contract.
So what
fee
you're
would be
thinking is
for
get with Brad, see what best fits our needs, and
Correct.
come back with a proposal.
Correct.
And then.
Right. I don't want to give you straight numbers just yet, 'cause I don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess you can just work with Brad.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, come back with a proposal that,
Okay.
you know, might
And
best
and
fit.
those I can have prepared before the next meeting, so.
I think you just have it on the agenda, Lisa. And that give us time to look over, and then Brad can get with us and see
Okay.
if we have any ideas of what the best route or whatever, so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item E on the agenda is consideration for the asphalt of William Street in combination with Bourbon County.
County commissioner got with me the other day about piggybacking off of their asphalt. They're gonna do the labor, of course, and this price that they gave us is strictly materials. The street is William Street, if you're not familiar, half of it's county, half of it's city. So, you know, them doing it for 18,000 to me is a great deal, because then we keep our guys doing what they need to do. The county can do this, and it's asphalt, so.
And I didn't know, I mean, I assume, but did we verify Williams is half city, half county?
Yes, it is.
He's on it.
How long of a stretch is it, Brad?
It is, I'd have to go on the GIS, here it is.
Runs all the way from
Kansas to,
Kansas down to the middle school.
yeah,
What is that 18th to?
About,
yes, 12th.
yeah, 6 blocks. It's pretty long. I drive it every day. It's longer than you think.
Footage I would have to get
I'm
you
good.
GIS.
Yeah.
Just paying, just paying for the asphalt, that's pretty good.
They want to asphalt any other roads for us while they're at it?
I didn't ask that question, but I sure can go back with a list if you want me to.
I know at one time they had talked about there on 18th, Kansas, coming all the way down, because they were going to do half of that road, and then that one got put on hold. They talked with us about doing that all the way down to where it ties in with Margrave down there.
That was mentioned, so if they do that, we'll come back with that one too.
Yep.
Yeah, Kansas, we definitely want to keep it nice.
Yep. Somebody live out there?
Well, I don't know, everybody out there. I mean, that's a little, I don't get to go those highfalutin roads.
Leave it shit.
Guard shack out there.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve going in on the Williams Road.
I'll move that we partner with the county to asphalt.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Katie just hit it on the head. It's a good partnership. I really do think that. We should be doing more of that.
All right,
With some of
item
those
F,
things.
consideration of a 15-day notice for Mr. Hancock.
Jeff did a great job while he was here, working with Brad, working with the city, working with the commissioners. But Brad, this is Brad's town now. This is Brad's city, and he's riding sidekick with Baker Tilly now. But I would move that we do send a notification of the providing the 15-day notice to our interim city manager, Jeff Hancock.
Second.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
No. You can turn it up.
It's pretty much up.
Is that up? Okay.
The person that, Larry from the company, he's in Pittsburgh. He's spending the night down there. I'll have him come back in tomorrow and I'll send him the video to listen to.
Yeah, on the other side, I have got several messages from people who are like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. I can finally hear. The video is awesome. I greatly appreciate it.
So they can, you have some that can hear?
The people who have texted me so far are. Oh.
So I think the counties is the same way. If you go to the side, they can't hear them. So it's,
Yesterday it was too loud.
yeah.
People outside on the street could
We've
hear.
improved a lot since yesterday.
We'll tweak it a little more.
Deal.
Happy for you, right, Josh? I love you. Item G, consideration of recommended candidates for vacant seat of design review board.
So the design board met yesterday. They looked through all 4 letters that were submitted, and they have 2 that they're recommending. But wanted you to see all 4.
I did not.
Can you tell us who they're recommending?
If
Yes, please.
Yeah.
they're recommending Ann Rollins first, Jerry Witt.
I mean, were we going to vote on these tonight? Because to be honest with you, these just hit the table
Yeah.
here tonight
see
as
any.
well.
I would think that we would take a moment. That's always been our rule before. Let's take at least a cycle so that we have a chance to look over it before we vote.
All right, I would move then that we table item G until the next meeting to have an opportunity to get it.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones, Matthew Wells.
Yes. Item H, approval of certification of appropriateness, Bailey Lyons McDonald Hall billing. Assume this is,
They talked about that as well. They did recommend her color choices be approved, and
Usually we get pictures or what the colors are or something.
they are a dark gray and then a almost black. They're colors that are already on the approved list for the historic colors to be used in the downtown area.
Yeah, they're trying to move forward to get the building open.
So,
1865. I second that.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones, Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
yes. Item I, consideration of the CDBG sewer project inspection proposal.
Element of P.
That is a tough one. So what this is inspection services for that project that was awarded to Bennett Incorporated, and we've actually got our pre-construction meeting scheduled for the 31st with the contractor. So basically, that services will start that day for this deal. And it's hourly, so you don't get charged if we're not there. So sometime, when they bid that, their substantial completion timeframe was 150 calendar days, plus 30 for final. So I look at that and say the worst case, if we're there full time, every day of the week while they're working, plus the goal is we have just hired a new inspector down in Pittsburgh. So the goal is to have that person be the one coming up. So it's just a 30-minute travel time instead of having to come up and do per diem and hotel room from McPherson or somewhere else. So that kind of covers all that cost, and we will have our experienced inspector actually come and probably guide that new inspector for a couple weeks. So there's some of that in there, but
But we don't get a price, just an open-ended agreement.
there should be a price on page 2.
I didn't.
I don't
I've
have
got
a page
page 2, but
one
I don't see a price.
and 3. I didn't.
Yeah,
Yep, you're right.
I got 1 and 3. No page 2.
Yeah, open.
Sorry.
That's good.
Awesome.
The number I have, the estimated fee,
Had to wipe up some sludge with page 2.
yeah, we missed that, double-sided. $144,771 is the estimated fee for that.
I'm sorry, 144.
Yeah, $144,771. So that includes expense as well as testing for the trench backfill. The construction bid, 1.365, I think, million.
What do you, when you say testing a trench backfill, what are you gonna do to that?
Just the density compaction.
We had a problem with one of our
That's an estimate.
previous contractors not compacting before they put in the lines, and it created a lot of issues.
Totally understand, but what did we do 30 years ago?
Probably mules.
Totally understand that, but why? Is there a law, is there rules that we have to do that? Mhm. But that's what our codes department should do. And that's not against you or Jason, 'cause I respect the heck out of you guys. But
Just from a pure liability standpoint, it's cleaner for these folks to hire them or anybody to do this. When we start mixing and say, well, you inspect and we'll go ahead and do the density and whatever, and something happens, then what you end up with is huge litigation. It's like this one, oh, it's his fault, I was there that day. And you spend a lot more money. You're better off to either do it all in-house, hire somebody that can do all this, which costs a lot of hire them or somebody else. Just from a pure liability standpoint, you're better off with somebody being responsible.
Yeah, and again, with this project, you know, you have participating funds from CDBG,
This
so
project, I don't have any
this one, yeah.
questions at all about it.
Yes. So that'd be, I'll just tell you the numbers I use. So 150 calendar days equates to approximately 110 working days. That's 5 days a week for 22 weeks. Plus we've got and I think I put it in the contract, 2 weeks up front and on the end for prep and closeout paperwork. So essentially that's 26 weeks full-time, which, you know, a contractor's going to work as long as he can. So I actually put that at 10 hours a day. So the main inspector will do pay requests from the contractor. They'll come to me and I'll do those. So there's time for that. And some oversight from our inspector, our main inspector, which would be either Brad Mahoney or Russell, which I think Russell's been in town before to help inspect. Yeah.
Nice guy.
And then so that also includes, so that covers mileage. So I estimated mileage for, like I said, if our Pittsburgh guy comes up every day, so our mileage for that. You know, the bigger mileage would be having somebody come from out of town further. So that's where all those numbers come from, along with an estimate of the density tests. I estimated, I believe, 480 tests. So that took, so this is all over town. So it's going to be a lot of jumping around and getting to where you need to be. But so that's also an estimate. And I tried to get it to where when we get done, we don't have to say, by the way, we need more money. But that's why it's set up as an estimate. Because if they're not, you know, there's rain days, so that causes a wrinkle for everybody. But if they don't have an inspectable work item, we're not coming.
And how much is one of those nuclear density machines? No, I'm kidding.
$1 million.
You want a diploma? I can print one up.
I'm not sure the state would accept a printed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and we
I
calibrate.
think, Bob, we covered for that?
And I can make sure I'll email that missing page again. That's a good way, though. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
open-ended, that's good. But that was the number. So
All right, so our choice is either to approve a page we haven't seen or wait till we see the page and then approve it then.
yeah, so like I said, we'll do the pre-con meeting on the 31st. So that will be before the next agenda. But if you can approve it contingent on receipt of that second page, that would save us hassle later.
I would move to approve the inspection proposal from Earl's Engineering contingent upon receipt of the missing second page of their bid price, of which was $144,746.
771.
771.
I didn't have that page.
Yeah.
I'll second it. Since you two
Josh Jones. Tim Van Hooky.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Item J, consideration of approval to submit for the next phase of the KDOT CLIP on Wall Street.
Okay, so this, and we do it every year now. This is the program that you were awarded to do that first quarter mile of Wall Street or US 54. So this is the next piece of that. which I'm trying to take it the same distance. So we'll basically stop short of Caldwell, I think is the street. So from Barbie, rebuild that intersection and go
All the way
up
to
to Caldwell, but probably not that intersection. We'll do the striping to get those lanes back over. So just to get, because there's nothing to sign when we send it in. You don't sign anything until KDOT selects you, so.
When they.
That will be when they select you. So, yeah, later this summer is when they get that going.
Awesome. All right, we're looking for a motion to get this grant.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones, Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, Brad, city manager comments.
Real quick, iPads are ordered, should be here by the next meeting, for the commissioners. Crack sealing, Cape Seal prep is going on right now. We are, continuing on Cooper Street. We actually have the street repair crew hired, so we are training them on various aspects of what they're gonna be doing, bricklaying, concrete work, whatever a street may need. So that crew's gonna be going strong here in a couple weeks. Other than that, I'm good.
On the steep fix.
Yes. I did get a price for that.
I know we've had that before, I didn't know, I think before when we did it was like $30,000 initial setup fee or something like that. And so I didn't know if they were gonna cut us a break this time since.
They're not gonna do initial. I asked them why they would do that since we've already been part of them. So I do believe it's right underneath 10,000.
It's gonna
I'll bring it to you.
more along the lines of reactivation rather
Yes.
than a complete.
Yeah, well,
That was a very popular program, by the way.
I mean, it has a lot of stuff that we can utilize in-house, like job tracking, that hopefully we can train.
all I have to do is go through and rename people, and that's it. So,
As far as out there at the RV park,
Mhm.
we're doing work out there. Have we got the quotes back yet on the bathroom?
no, not yet.
Anything else?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Jason, did you have anything else for us?
Thank you, Jason.
Everyone remember to pray for Edwin. He's getting over his sickness, but I'm sure prayers will still be appreciated. Josh, do you have any comments for us this evening? Just a
Just
few.
a couple.
Just a couple, real quick.
I talked about this before, I would like to ask Brad to seek out IT services, just check and see what they be. I know we've had some more complications in-house with getting people over here, so I just wanted to, I don't know, if that's something we can do, or we need to make a motion.
Go out for bid.
We should be able to just direct him to do it.
Go out for bids.
And then the other thing is, I'm hoping my house gets done sometime this year. I mean, it's been, so the replacing of a commissioner, I wanna look at for this year. And Bob, maybe you can help me, if we do it, if we can do it one time, I know this is election year and it'll probably time out about the time my house is done. If we can make a ordinance or a resolution this year to allow like the fourth place person, to take over my seat, if that's possible. I mean, I'm assuming we can do it, but if you see any legal reasons with that, if you just look into that, and then let me know, then I can bring it back.
Sure.
Just to let you guys know, that's what I'm thinking, but,
And I thought we just went through that ordinance here a few months ago. And we did change it when we did a few months. I mean, I'm happy to look at whatever you want to bring back, but.
here's what's gonna happen, Tim, is someone's not gonna run for election, and someone's gonna get elected, and then crazy.
Everyone,
Shutting off. So,
I think the sound went out.
no, mine
Ask them
keeps
about
going off. So, the replacing the commissioner, we did just go through that, but the difference is this year, it'll time out during the election. So, the last thing I or the citizens probably want to see is go through the election process and then the commissioners put on somebody that never even went through the election. I mean, the ultimate is the citizens get to decide. And so if we get out there early enough where the fourth place person would be on there, I mean, you're leaving it up to the citizens. You're making the person go through the process instead of just 4 people deciding.
You're wanting to put that fourth vacancy when you would be to step down to add that to the ballot?
I don't know if that can be added to the ballot, and it's probably too late. Well, no, it probably wouldn't be too late.
Yeah, if you want to get with Bob and
Yeah.
bring it before us to look at, but
Yeah.
I mean.
But even if it wasn't to the
I know
ballot, I mean, I just know a
There's
lot
still
of.
going to be 3 people at least that are elected.
Absolutely.
Yep. And actually 4, because, I mean, I was elected and I've got 2 more years to go as well. So there will be 4, but I'm happy to look at whatever Bob brings back to you for us to.
Right. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is to get 5 people that's been elected by the citizens. That's the way our country's been set up. I think that's the ultimate goal, is to get 5 people elected by the citizens, not 4 elected by citizens, 1 elected by 4 commissioners. But anyways.
I don't want to pour any water on your thought process, but if you're truly looking at elections, the 4th or 5th place person, whatever, didn't win the election, so the citizens didn't vote that person in.
Absolutely. That's why I want to do this soon enough where they know in advance. So, and that's why I say I'm not for this all the time.
Sure.
But if it times out,
Special
this would be a special circumstance where it times out, citizens know, and if we can get it to the ballot, even better.
Well, if you just stay on the commission.
Yeah. Good. I mean, I have plenty of places in town I can live at, so.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you go there, but I'm just.
I'm good.
Yeah, we could do that.
I'm good on that.
I already told him I'd annex that. That's not.
I pay enough in city property taxes. I don't need another one. And my neighbors would really.
I'm sorry, I just.
Yeah. Half of it. So anyways, that was just, and that's all I got, so.
Mr. Van Hookey.
No, just, you know, it's a lot of the great events recently in town. If you didn't get a chance to go to Marcia Fest, that was a good time. Great to see that with COVID being gone, that the events groups like the Good Old Days Committee, like Corey being in here for his event for Care to Share and stuff like that, because that's a lot of stuff that brings people into our town. And I also wanted to make sure I thanked the people at CHC SEK prior to our meeting tonight. We got invited over to the new facility over there on 69 Highway, the old Price Chopper building, and got a very in-depth, thorough tour of what that's going to bring to our community. And Bob was there with us as well, and it's something else. They're bringing additional services here to us, additional people here to us, and it's very exciting for the city. And that's all I got.
It's okay.
I do have some spring shopping downtown areas getting ready to come up pretty soon for our downtown retail shops. Other than that, I don't have very much. Okay. Thank you.
I just had a couple things I wanted to touch on. There's been a lot of complaint about this lately. Brad and I have talked a little bit about this. We have an issue with there not being the proper cut permits or not being able to follow up on those permits. Brad, you had an idea on getting with Crawcan and seeing how we could address that?
Yes, we've got a meeting set with them.
Okay.
Yep.
When is that meeting going to take place?
It'll be next week. He's out of town this week.
Next week, okay. Are you sitting in on that? I was going to say, is it possible for at least one of us, or I'd be happy to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
The other commissioners don't want to, but.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Second thing would be, additionally, I got reached out to by several citizens about readdressing the contractor license. They believe that that would be extremely beneficial. There's apparently been an issue with some contractors in town not completing their work, and that doesn't fall back on the city at all, other than to point out one more time that we have no licensing for any of our contractors, no codes that any of our contractors have to follow, because they're not licensed to work in our town because we don't provide any licensing. I know that I had presented something before, so I would like to get it on the agenda for the next meeting for us to go over those contractors' licenses again and see if that's something we can implement as the city for the benefit of our citizens. And then my final item was when I was meeting with another citizen about one of the cuts in the alley between National and Main Street here. Another brick tumbled off of the Moody building. And I was reminded by someone else that we have an international maintenance code that was adopted by the city that gives us the permission, regardless of what the owner says, to enter that building with an engineer and look at it. I was wondering if this is something that we can go ahead and do using that code that's on the book and see if we can move forward with trying to save that building before it falls down.
Bob, do you know?
Yeah, again, you get into those real tricky areas.
It's kind of gray still, isn't it?
It's still very gray, and we've got a responsibility,
I've read that code.
but so does the guy that owns the building has an territorial responsibilities. And if you're asking us to look into it, we'll be happy to do that, because we may need to do something and
Yes, sir.
more aggressive than we've done before.
I believe that being aggressive at this point is our only option.
I'm not arguing with
Yes.
you at all.
I had the two citizens that were talking to me in the alley when that brick fell, of course, referenced the Eagle Block and said, "Oh, it looks like we're going to have another Eagle Block on our hands." And I know that's the last thing any of us want. So whatever we can do to move that forward would be beneficial to the city and to our downtown. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I do know that Thomas, there have been communications.
Oh,
with
yes.
the building owner codes already.
Yes.
And I do know the international code you're talking about,
Okay.
but there is a very gray area that can actually come back upon us as well. So if you want to look at it again, Bob, but I mean, yeah, my wife's in love with that building, and it breaks her heart to see the conditions it's in as well. But I want to make sure that us and our codes guys are covered before we just send an
No.
engineer in.
I understand completely. With that, Bob, do you have any comments for us this evening?
I do. Well, I have a request.
I got you covered here.
I would ask for one of you commissioners to go into executive session, make a motion to go into executive session for attorney-client discussion. 10 minutes, because it's information that I have that I need to share.
So it is attorney-client?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, all the commissioners, of course, and Brad. Do you need Ben in there at all? No?
I move the city commission recess into executive session.
Don't leave yet. We will probably have a second executive session. You will be needed.
I move the city commission recess into executive session for the purpose of the attorney-client privilege exception in KSA 7543-19B2. Within that executive session will be the 4 present city commissioners, the city manager, and the city attorney. We want to meet in Jeff's old office, meet in Mr. Hancock's office for 10 minutes. We'll be back in here at 8:59. We'll resume in this room.
You want to call the roll?
Call the roll?
On the vote? And then I'll
Who's the second? I'm sorry.
Josh.
Josh, okay. Katie Harry?
Yes.
Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes.
In the kit, in the bathroom, right there, that emergency kit, there's some in there.
And probably we don't need it, right? Well, she, you know, we travel a lot, but she traveled a lot before we were. Oh, okay. So she's got stuff, expensive stuff from all over. She pulled out this one painting, and where'd that come from? Oh, that was my great grandmother. She goes, I don't know where to put it because it's very expensive. I said, well, 22 foot high. I can put it anywhere, so nobody can get to it, right?
What you need is two barns.
You
We're back, it looks like we're back now. Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Katie Harrington, Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Huh? I told him not to. He was by us here, but I don't know if he left.
I got the sense they were leaving. They walked out that door together.
I told him not to leave.
He probably thought you were teasing. I don't know what he thought. I'm sorry.
Anybody have his cell phone? Call him real quick.
No idea what his cell phone is.
Well, regardless, I move that the city commission recess into executive session for the purpose of the preliminary discussion of acquisition of real property exceptions in KSA 75-4319B6. We'll meet back in Jeff's room. It'll be the 4 present commissioners, the city manager, the city attorney, and the city finance guy, as soon as we can reach him. And we'll be in there for probably 25 minutes. We'll meet back here in this room at 9:27.
9:27. Okay, do we have a second? Okay. Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Katie Harrington? Josh Jones? Matthew Wells?
Yes.
So I will, when
Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Katie Harrington?
Yes.
Josh Jones? Matthew Wells?
Move to adjourn.
Katie Harrington? Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?